Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Tom. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hello, friends.
This week we are going to be talking about Dawnbringers Book V. There it is. Ta-da! Yes, it
We
is
go again.
the most recent Dawnbringers entry, the book series that heralds the end of this edition and hopefully the dawn of I don't know, better version of the game. We'll talk about that a whole lot, but let's of course get into some news. What do we got?
We have a rumor engine.
We do.
I mean, kind of exciting.
Okay. Why so? Tell me about it. Here it is. I had it up accidentally at the beginning. Why? It's the letter E. Got it.
Yeah, it's different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, we've obviously seen better, way more interesting stuff before. I mean, it's fine. It's all just fine. I don't know. I have really mixed feelings about the rumor engines in general.
Well, let me tell you what's interesting about this one. If we're going to get like an entire Stormcast relaunch with a lot of the stuff of the Stormcast gets remade and everybody gets Thunderstruck up or something like that, right? Okay. And this is like updated paper, toilet paper trails, right? Off
Sure.
of them. Like obviously it's way thicker, but it
Yep.
also doesn't have the indented letters, which I always hated. I hated the indented letters. They should have always just been like one solid piece that you just wrote on. It's not hard to do this writing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so like if that's what it is, cool. If it's some 40K thing, also fine, I don't care. Which is entirely just as likely to be, right? So
Sure.
who knows?
Sure.
Tom, I've been stung recently. You weren't here last week, okay?
Right. I watched the show though. I watched the AMA with you and Tyler, where Tyler was perpetually trying to feed you more questions, and you're like, "We're done. We're done. You got one more. We're
Yeah.
done."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're in it for the next one. I just want you to know the next AMA we
That's
do.
fine.
And I've promised that the next one is no game or hobby questions. It has to be
Yeah,
only
I saw.
anything else. It has to
Well,
be
if you
anything
remember,
else.
we did that a number of years ago as a fundraiser.
We did, yes, I know.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean that's been like 6 years or something ridiculous.
Well, it sounds like we need to do it again. People's burning questions about how the rest of our boring lives have to be answered.
Clearly.
But the like I guess we'll see is my statement. But I was burnt because remember 2 weeks ago or whatever, we had the elk horns and I was really excited. I was like, cool, we're gonna get an elk, like a cool deer thing. I love deer. I love elk. Right?
And then it was that guy.
There's that little stupid weirdo from the war band. Gosh darn it.
Those war bands always the most trickiest of sculpts. You always think you have something interesting, and then they're like womp womp womp.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so there you go. No, Martin, I did not make the Sesame Street joke. I did not. Okay. So, all right, what do we got next?
Interesting, funny story. Adepticon preview is coming, and they've kind of alluded to it. Apparently Sigmar lied.
So I've heard.
Like those are.
Well, hold on.
We gotta save related, that up. Right?
It is.
Or are you wanting to go?
That. That's separate. Okay. That's separate. Save that for a second. Okay. Let's talk about the Adepticon preview first. Okay.
Okay.
A decidedly fantasy tilted main show here. Okay.
Sure.
Because they have this little separation for just like, we've got teasers for these things, which means you're not going to get much, right? You're going to get like a little video about some small thing for Necromunda and Horus Heresy.
Yep.
So the main show, you got 40K and Kill Team, but other than that, it's all fantasy stuff. Underworld's Warcry, Old World, Sigmar, right?
Yep.
So that's exciting. I mean, here's our times, by the way. I did grab the timesheet as well. So depending on where you are in the world, find your appropriate time. I'll be there in person. And here's my question. Like this event, just so everybody understands.
Yeah.
Okay, this event is at 8 p.m. Chicago time.
Yeah. I remember. Yep.
And obviously I'll be there in the room. And don't worry, Hades, I didn't forget. We'll talk about him in a minute.
I will not be. I'll be in Pennsylvania on a work trip.
I understand. You're a loser. And who needs to get better planning of your schedules, but that's all right.
I don't have control of it.
That's what a loser says, Tom. So the this is at 8 p.m. Here's my question.
Yep.
Is this really going to be a 2-hour preview show? I can't believe that. I cannot believe it for a second. Okay.
I mean, normally it'll be 15 minutes of crowd work warm up.
They've cut the crowd work. Nova last year, no crowd work. They got up, they talked, then they launched into this thing, and it was just like blop 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 blop. Here it is, 20 minutes, we're done. Okay. Peace.
No, then what it'll be is this. It'll be at you'll have an hour, right? And then the actual like global thing will run at 10. That's what it is.
Here's the question. Am I going to be able to go back to my room and do the live show before the actual thing premieres? Am I going to actually beat everybody? Am I going to beat them to the punch of their own show next week?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Like, if that happens, that's going to be very funny because I won't even have the article to reference and bring up. I'll just have to talk about it.
No. Right. You need to get out your phone and take pictures and do like the potato cam.
The thing that they do not allow you to do and will very aggressively come up and stop you from doing very aggressively because like I had my phone out to answer someone's text at Nova or something. And what's a very nice guy. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. I'm blanking on his name. I've met him like 100 times. He works for GW. He came up and he was like, Vince, he was like giving me the signal. And like I was like, oh yeah, sorry. Like you don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like your phone is so second nature to you. Like my phone pinged somebody. My wife had texted me. I was answering her. Right.
Yep.
So yes, I'm aware, Hades. I know. I want to get a crew. I want to have a Muppet theater of people behind me to do this review show. I'm hitting up like everybody to come join me. Just everybody pile in my room. We're all gonna sit around and do this review show. It's just going to be a discussion about it. That's my honest plan. We'll see what actually happens.
Well, I'm sorry that I couldn't be there. I'm sure it'll be delightful.
Indeed. The only other thing to mention from the little preview article teaser was this little guy. This is what was mentioned, Mr. Bone Dog from OBR.
His official title was Tyrannic Prowler.
Sure, why not?
Bone
Dog. Okay. I mean... Okay.
Bone Dog.
I am excited to understand the story for this one. All right?
Okay.
Because...
What do you mean?
Well, I'll tell you what I mean, Tom. Here you go. What's the story of OBR? What is the in-world narrative story of OBR?
They are collecting the bone tithe and going around enacting
How are
justice.
they made?
Oh, they're shaped into bone constructs.
Okay. So
by bone shapers.
Sure. There are
they
bone construct bodies that they collect and then they build into hollow husks. Yes.
Yep.
What do they fill them with?
Like spirit energies.
Souls. Specifically, multiple souls. Okay?
Yeah.
The point being is that OBR as a concept is the following. Sigmar took all the best souls and continues to do so to make his Stormcast, which Nagash is upset about. Right?
Correct.
So Nagash's great plan to level the playing field is, 5 average souls are equal to 1 great hero. So I'm just going to take one guy and I'm going to shove 5 souls inside of him. And that'll be the equivalent, right? Which is, first of all, the dumbest plan. And then completely on par for the dumbest god, Nagash, okay? So, the dude's an idiot. Who's been constantly beaten by the actual protagonists of this new edition, which we'll talk about in a moment. But he's stealing souls. So, Tom, my question for you is the following. This is a dog or something like that, okay? I understand it might not actually be a dog, but within the parlance of Varsity Blues logic, it's a dog.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Does this mean A, Nagash is shoving a bunch of souls into a dog body because it's funny to him and he's just a weirdo perv? Okay,
Nope.
option 1.
Nope. That's wrong.
2, dogs in the mortal realms have souls.
Yep.
Okay.
And he's gathered a bunch of the goodest of boys.
No.
put 'em-
Remember, all the goodest boys have to go to Sigmar. So he's getting like a bunch of average dogs.
He's getting the pound dogs, and all the pound dogs are being
The
shoved.
pound
into
dogs are
the
usually
bone
the
body.
best dogs. These are like the ones that bit people. I don't know. There's probably like police dogs. Like, I don't know, the middling dogs. Like, okay. Like, these are narc dogs.
Military dogs.
Yeah,
Narco
these
dogs.
are narcs. So, like, is that the story? And then, corollary theory, okay, if that is
Yep.
true, if he's
Yep.
just gathering a bunch of average dog souls, which, by the way, is
Yep.
dumb, because, yes, all dogs go to heaven, the joke that was just made, so, like, all dogs should go to Aesir. But,
Yep.
let's assume there's just bad dog souls, okay?
Yep.
Does that mean that there are hero dogs that are good enough
Gryph-hound.
to
Yeah,
become to get reforged? Okay,
Well, Gryph-hound's deep strike, so
sure.
they're
But they're not. They don't
like,
get the
they're-
armor and stuff. Are they immortal?
yeah, they have van braces. Like, they have little
Sure.
van braces.
Okay.
I mean, I would assume that the Lord Castellans don't have to replace their dogs every time they come back. Like, they probably still have their goodest of boys always deep striking with them.
I guess.
Like, always traveling, riding the lightning, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, no offense, Stuart. Of course, all dogs are good dogs. Yes, I understand. Just being funny. The like my I just have so many questions. This just feels like the dumbest thing. Like, there's no way this works narratively. That's all I'm saying. But if it does work
No.
narratively, I, for one, cannot wait for Stormcast's Stormhounds. Okay? Give me the Stormhounds. Because now,
So-
this tit-for-tat move that Nagash and Sigmar have, I want to see Sigmar's response. He has to make the heavily armored Mastiff cavalry, right?
Well, what I'll say is this. I'm sure that maybe it wasn't Nagash. Maybe it was just a bone shaper that missed his dog. He's like,
Okay. Okay.
I remember. Or maybe it was a guy that was like a vet, and it's a vet and all of his techs that have been shoved into one body. And so all of them just love animals. And so they're like, you know what? I got it. I need my bestest of boys.
But
And
again,
then
that still
he
means
makes-
that in
no.
Immortal Realms, it is canonical that dogs have souls. So animals,
Correct.
assumingly animals writ large have souls.
Correct. Or this guy didn't really care what he was doing to the souls and shoved a bunch of human souls into his new goodest of boy construct. Because, you know, some people like to do the pet thing. So maybe he's like, he found those handful of souls that wanted to be shoved into a dog body and they're into it.
Just, yeah. Okay. Anywho.
I mean, this is where we're at with the narrative, GW.
Yep.
Thank you.
So anyways, here's where we are. I don't know.
Yep.
This raises more questions than it answers. But I look forward to this Warcry Warband, because that's what it is. It's a Warcry Warband. So, cool.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
It's fine. That was a lot of talk about something that I thought was pretty silly and funny. Now...
Well, I mean, here's the reality. The GW team understands their market.
Mhm.
And they know animals, like, everybody's all about the animals. Like, that's just, like, from a sculpting standpoint. And so
Yeah.
they just leaned into it. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep. All right, so now, Tom, here we go. This is on mute, so we won't. I'll just let it play here. But yes, Sigmar lied. Okay, cool. So we have some green lightning. We have the sound of chittering rats. We have the thunder. We have bells tolling in the distance.
Yeah.
We have Skaven. Got it.
Do you think that the main preview at Adepticon will be Book 6? Because we won't have Book 6 yet. Like, we have 5
Sure.
at this point.
Certainly,
right?
we'll cover book 6 at the preview. Yeah, it'll
That's what I'm
come up.
saying. Like, they'll say, like, the conclusion of the narrative, blah, blah, blah,
Sure.
blah, blah. Right? And then they'll probably, like, let us know who the focus is. It's probably Chaos. Spoiler. And then probably leave off with a new edition this summer. That type of thing. And maybe show off some video model stuff.
I think we'll get pretty deep into it. Yeah, we'll see the new Skaven and everything. Like, I mean, if it's like the 40K preview last year, we saw basically what the launch box was going to be, right? I mean, that was like we saw the thing. I would certainly imagine this is going to be the same thing, where we'll see the new Skaven sculpts that come in the launch box at minimum, and the new Stormcast and everything like that. Yeah,
I know that it's going to be Stormcast.
we all know that.
I know in my bones. I know that it's probably going to be resculpts of the original Stormcast units.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. This should have been a cities box, a combination of cities with a Stormcast unit or two.
Yeah, we all know that, but here we are.
I know. That's what this should have been.
Sure. Yeah. Sigmar lied. I find this to be the least interesting teaser ever, by the by. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Like, I think that it's interesting. Like, it grabbed my attention.
He's a god.
And he's not. Like, we know he's not a god. He was a dude with a warhammer.
First of all, he's like a barbarian. Secondly,
Correct.
he is a god. Like, as within this current world, he's a god, right? And, like, yeah, okay, they all do, all the time, constantly. That's kind of the whole thing. Like, I don't get it. So what? Like, what I don't want more than anything, Tom, is for Age of Sigmar to be this, like, super grim dark, steeped in whatever world. Like, yes, it is a
I heard
lights in the darkness world. It's not a grim dark world, and there is a distinct difference there.
There is. I heard somebody speculating that this could potentially be. I think it was maybe Rob speculating this could be the Horus Heresy of AOS, where we'll have a bunch of Civil War-esque activities because of the new, like, the split factions that are forming. Was one of his theories, because, like, we have the 2 factions in Daughters, we have the 2 factions in Sylvaneth, we have the 2 factions in yada yada. Like, we're seeing this repeatedly. I mean, if there was ever a time to do Gold faction, that would be it, right?
Sure.
Would be to lean into something like that if they wanted to do that.
Yeah.
That said, I'm not convinced.
I highly doubt it. It just that would feel so derivative. Somebody at the helm has to be like, well, we're not just going to do that again. Please, for the love of God, understand how derivatively awful that would be. Like, there's no way they're actually sitting there going, this is a good idea. They're not that creatively bankrupt. They have good people in charge of the sort of background narrative.
Agreed. It makes me wonder if, like, let me ask this. What do you think the lie is about?
Who knows? The reforging process? The security of Aesir? Those are the 2 most popular guesses.
Yeah.
I could be either. I really hope it's neither of those. Okay. I hope that he lied. Like, to give us a real curveball. Okay? He lied. He's not Sigmar. Sigmar died. Okay? And he's like some guy.
It's Balthazar guilt. Like that's who he's like. He's like, it was me. It was in the mask the whole time.
Like, he's some guy, and he's had to, like, pretend to be this barbarian king for 1,000 years. Okay, like, he's a powerful guy, whatever, but he's just some guy. It's somebody else. That would be hilarious, right? If he was just, like, some dude, and like, what's your actual name? I don't know, Steve. I don't really remember anymore. It's been a long time. You know, like, if it's just like Sigmar lied and there's a flaw in the reforging, yeah, we all know. We've known that since the beginning. That was, like, part of the very first stuff. It's not a reveal to us.
Yeah.
It's not a teaser to us. If it's, Sigmar lied and Aesir has holes in it and it can be vulnerable to certain attacks, like, yeah, we know that too. Again, in some of the earliest narratives, Skaven were sneaking in every so often to Aesir. Who cares?
Where is the prophecy of the Dawnbringer Crusade?
Well, we're going to talk about that tonight. Don't worry.
Where did that prophecy come from?
The twin-tailed comet and why they're going out?
Yeah. Was that Sigmar?
No, it's not him directly. He doesn't give these kinds of things directly.
I wonder.
He doesn't offer prophecies or instructions directly. He's very distant god.
I was wondering if that was going to be where they went with it, which was that neither of the cities are going to succeed. Like, the prophecy's been one's going to succeed, one's going to fail, you know, and by Sigmar's promise or whatever. And actually, the truth is that both of them fail. Like
Yeah.
both of them were just so bad that like neither crusade actually takes root.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Honestly, the most interesting reveal trailer was the one we got for second edition, which was the joke trailer, which was you can't solve all your problems by just releasing more Stormcast. The hell I can't. And then he hits the button. Like
Yes.
that's Sigmar. Like I believe 100% that's that dude's attitude. Okay? Accurate character is accurate. Okay? He is just a barbarian king. Like he's Conan. That's what he was meant to that's what he was riffing on in his original creation. Right? Back in the first mention I know of Sigmar. I don't know if it's I do not know when he was actually created. I'm just saying the first mention I'm aware of him is in Hero Quest.
Yeah.
Okay. He is a character that shows up in Hero Quest as like a barbarian. So, okay. Anyways.
Yep. Such a good game.
Sure. You know, I like whatever, man. Like just make it something interesting to us, the viewer. Having people in the world go like, "Oh goodness," is not. If it's something we already know, it's okay. Like, cool, man.
Yeah. The other question that I have is that who is making the claim that Sigmar lied? That's the other thing that's interesting to me.
Sure.
It's interesting if it's not chaos or death or destruction.
Sure.
Like this is probably not the launch of the Umbraneth, right? Of Malarian folks, but that would be a very like on brand thing for Malarian to open with. Like his introduction into the story is the revealing that Sigmar lied.
Sure. I mean, look, what do we want? We want that Skaven figure out how to reforge. That's all we want.
No, that's what you want. You just want Sig to be canon. That's what you want.
Look, vindicate me, okay? That's all I'm saying. It would be amazing if another species figured out how to reform and it was Skaven of all the things. So like they start dying and like they start warp lightning back to the battlefield, like showing up in cracks of green lightning. That'd be incredible.
Well, there was green lightning in the trailer, right?
Yeah, man. Let's go. Lightning comes down at the end. Let's go. Let's go Skaven reforged. Come on, baby. Give me that good. Show me some storm vermin that like show up and they're like just like big, huge armored storm vermin. Like that would be amazing. It'd be amazing. They'd get all, because you get all roided up on the lightning juice. They're huge for no reason.
Yep.
Absolutely. Give me those like 5'9" ridiculous or 5'11" Skaven, 6 foot rat cast, right? Like that's what I want to see. Just these Chad cast out there.
The Chad cast cracked the formula, the tech, the Sigmar tech, the lightning tech. Mm-hmm. That's what they've been doing in Aesir this whole time, is spying, trying to figure out the lightning tech, and they've gotten it. Or maybe Aesir, maybe all the lightning is simply, maybe all of what Sigmar has built his army on, like his brand, right?
Yeah.
Like all the lightning and
his
all
brand,
that.
Yeah, sure.
Is simply warp lightning. Like sure. maybe it is harnessed warp lightning.
When Grungy originally built the Smith, because it was obviously Grungy and the 6 Smiths who built the reforging engine originally.
Yep.
When they did that, they were just stealing Skaven tech.
Well, no, they were stealing chaos energy. Like the whole thing, the whole house. Maybe the lie is the whole house is built on
chaos energy.
Chaos energy. Like
Sure.
and that like that the lightning isn't Sigmar's in Sigmar's control, but rather he is simply controlling the warp lightning that the Skaven freely embrace.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take any of it. Let's go. If it means Skaven get to show up in sweet Sigmar armor, I'm here for it. That's all I want. Okay.
I mean, they were halfway there already, right?
Let's go all the way. Why go? Never go halfway when you can go all the way. All right, Tom. Sure. Let's move on. That brings us up through a very long news segment. Let's talk about some pick of the week.
Yeah.
What do you got for everybody?
So I went a different direction this week. I have a pick.
You do.
but it's not a typical one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I did this because the person who I'm spruiking made a joke to me, and I said, "Oh, you think that's funny? I'm going to do it." And so the channel I'm going to actually we're sharing today is a YouTube channel, like a Fortnite meme Rocket League channel, and it's actually my son.
Uh-huh.
So make all the jokes in the comments now. My son made it to making content before I did.
He did.
It's true. And he's already beat me on subscribers.
He's seemingly better at it than you too, so which isn't surprising.
He is. He's more reliable. His first video was him and I playing together. Most of them are short reels. It's a lot of meme stuff. So go check it out. Give it a like, the channel, and let's see if we can push him over 1,000 subscribers.
It's a very magical milestone for YouTube for a lot of reasons, yes. And like, your son, a little content creator. There you go. So
absolutely. A 13-year-old. Yep.
Yes.
And so we want to encourage this behavior. And maybe it'll catch on and I'll do something someday.
Probably. Yep, exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Bruno. Nepo baby. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Riding on your coattails of fame, Tom. All right.
I mean, again, he's clearly better at it than I am. Sure. So.
Yep. For me, my pick of the week is our good buddy 2+ Tough, Doug, who has a video talking all about making sweet robots for Space Station Zero. He's doing a Space Station Zero run, and he's getting some robots ready. So I have that video linked down there. And if you say, Vince, what the heck is Space Station Zero? I say to you, Space Station Zero is the second game that Uncle Adam and I made. It's our sci-fi survival game. And some roguelike elements and stuff like that as you're exploring the husk of a long abandoned, empty, dilapidated, but impossibly large space station. And so that's obviously available down below, along with all the other games Adam and I have created, such as Rain in Hell and Majestic 13 and our yearly zine Snarl, which most recently had Tanks for the Apocalypse in it. And soon we'll be home to our next game, coming soon, that is finishing up editing right now as we go. And where everybody should be really excited for this. Tom, I want, like, obviously you haven't seen it. You've seen the game. You and I did a lot of work on the game.
I have definitely seen the game.
You haven't seen some of the art yet, but boy, oh boy. Right. I was reviewing our most recent tranche of art submissions, and we've got some people are going to be excited.
Real bangers.
We got some bangers. We got some bangers on this one. Yeah, get into it. So anyways, check out Doug down below talking about Space Station Zero. Everything, even Tom's, is actually down in the comments because he sent it to me 30 seconds after we were supposed to go live, but he did get it.
3 of you
the show started.
Have already subscribed to his channel. So congratulations to the 3 of you that just did that. I'm proud of you.
Fantastic. Hit like for Tom's Nepo baby, and Tom's son, frankly, being more successful than Tom. It took Tom like 40 years to get a career of any kind together. I'm going to love it when your son has a full-fledged career by 16.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'll say this. He's outlandishly good at Fortnite. Embarrassingly so.
Well, there you go. And somebody said Vince's dog's channel win. Look, my dogs would be way more successful than I could ever hope to be. We've got to contain them. It's that's break the internet. So that's the problem there. All right, Tom, let's talk about some hobby time. What have you been working on, buddy?
I ripped out 2 walls this week. In my dining room. I mean, but it's big scale hobby. Mm-hmm. In reality, I've been painting, working on the commission that I should be working on the army that I'm going to be running in 3 weeks, at the Lexington event. Mm-hmm. But I'm not painting those yet because I'm trying to get farther in this stupid commission. So we'll see.
Okay. Hypothermic ice. There you go. Yeah, what's up with the Dark Oath stuff they're talking about on the website now? It's just Chaos Marauders with a new faction sticker. Yeah, correct. It's the replacement for Marauders and Marauder Horsemen and all that. Like, Dark Oath has always been around, but they finally are expanding the Dark Oath concept. And it's part of S2D. It's just, that's the new labels for stuff. Retiring the old bad sculpts and bringing in the new awesome guys. Okay, my hobby time has largely been spent on this thing.
And robots.
On this giant robot. He's real big. He might look... I showed him last week, and he probably looked somewhat similar, but trust me, this is very different. This is a lot of additional work. Because it's all detail work. I am aware of that. I know how this goes. It's a long process to get these skeletons up to snuff. But there's some videos that'll be made out of him. We've got a lot of the metal sort of stained and streaked and stuff like that. And yeah, so that's where he is. Big robot skeleton. It's starting to have that nice worn, weathered, grimy, industrial look we want. We'll probably go a little farther with some stuff as it goes, but that's what I'm working on. The armor for him is back there, sitting on my table. You can see it. And then my other hobby time was getting all these bags. That's nice. See, I can just point with him. See these bags over here, Tom? Right there?
Yeah.
He's well stuck on there. See, isn't that nice? Fearless. All those bags I had to prepare all my miniatures this last weekend for teaching at Adepticon next week. So that was a lot of time getting all that stuff prepped up and ready to go. But they're all ready to rock.
Also, if you all didn't see it, the hobby cheating video from last week was Vince and I's board that we did for Havoc.
Yes.
So Vince would never spruik his own stuff, but I will mention it.
Yes.
Or for Holy War. No, was it Havoc?
It was Havoc, yeah. It was for Havoc, yeah. I just sat on that footage for a long time, but yes, it just kept getting moved around the release date for that one. But it was a good video. It was a lot of fun. It was good.
No, it was Wars. It was Holy Wars, not Havoc. Because it was our event in the fall. It was.
Isn't that Havoc? That's Havoc.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, it is.
It doesn't matter. Either way, it was a lot of fun. It was good to have you in there. And it was a good chance to get a lot of dogs in there. Caleb, you know I'll be at Adepticon, buddy. I'll see you there, brother. It's going to be good to see everybody. All right, so yeah, that's been my hobby time. I doubt he's not going to be done by the time I go to Adepticon next week, this giant night, but I'm hoping to get at least the skeleton in a pretty decent place, and then I'll start working on the armor when I get back. All right, Tom, with all of that, Tom, are you ready? Are you prepared? Are you excited to talk about Dawnbringers Book V?
I mean, not really. It'll be fine. Like,
sounds good.
I was sad that I had missed the shows previously. I missed like one of them, and then when we got to the last one, I'm like, nah, dog. Like, I could miss this. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about it. Review and rules. Okay. Let's talk about what's in Dawnbringers Book V. Here we go. What's in this book right here? Okay. So, overview. This is one of the lightest rule sets of any book so far. So if you were looking for some hot new content, there's the littlest amount of it. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means it's the smallest by amount. Count.
It's a light touch.
Yes, it's a light touch. That's right. So, Tom, there are new rules for strong points. We'll talk about those more in a minute.
Yep.
But what we're dealing with here is basically terrain that has real rules. Okay?
Sure.
And can, like, be destroyed and interacted with. And there's also, like, a battle plan for playing with these things. But they show up in all the other stuff in there. Strong points show up in, like, the Path to Glory. They show up in the Strong Point Assault Pack, which we'll talk about in a second. On the more traditional match play rule side, you've got an Army of Renown for Doc with Cthulhu or whatever, her army, right? And you've got the Regiment of Renown for the Saviors of Cinderfall, Callis and Toll and friends. Okay.
Yep.
So one regiment, one army. Doc and cities, although any order army can use Callis and Toll. And then you've got a big chunk of the rules in this dedicated to a new battle pack. Now, good side, I like that we're finally using battle pack technology to do something. Okay?
Yep.
Bad side, this is about teams of 4 facing off against each other, like the Euro teams game style of play, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do not have any idea who this battle pack is for. I do not know who this battle pack is for. Because, I mean, if people who are teams players, like 4-player teams players, you can tell me if you're in the chat. If you're excited to use these like extra strong points rules and have like destructible terrain, and this like the way you pick is different than I think how they normally do it on the teams choosing. It just like, it's very weird because it doesn't seem like the 4-player teams that I'm familiar with for what like Worlds players and people like that play. But it also is not a thing I can ever picture. I can't picture like going to a store and being like, hey, do 8 people want to play Age of Sigmar and do this 4-on-4 blind man's bluff choosy thing with destructible terrain stuff? Who is this for?
You know what? They're wanting to like they're exploring is what I would say. Like this is how I read this was, hey, let's explore what other styles or other ways to play looks like.
I guess
that's how I read this. That they are wanting to try to think outside the box of standard one-on-one play, and I appreciate that. Sure. Even if I don't like, I struggle to see a space that this will get utilized.
Yeah, my issue with this is, and Valentin just said, seems fun for narrative guys. Actual team events will never use this. Narrative people are never going to do this 4-on-4 thing, right? I just literally can't picture the people or person or group of people this is actually for who will use this. This has to be the least used battle pack they've ever published. I cannot imagine this being used.
No, I think the flying one was probably the least.
That wasn't a full battle pack. That was just some
like it was a mini game.
Yeah, it was a mini game.
There, yeah.
Like I can't. So one, agree. Good move using battle pack technology. Let's see more of that. 2, yep. I agree with you. Let's experiment more with non sort of mono game modes. Okay. Mm-hmm. But this is what we came to. We didn't do doubles. We didn't do like a multiplayer, just Coalition of Death, 4 players facing off, not Triumphant Treachery. Like this is what we
not all. This is it.
This was the next choice. Like this choice is so wild and completely insane to me. I don't even know what it, because it's like a full battle pack. Grand strats, new battle tactics, the whole shooting match, Tom, top to bottom. This is like,
I'm aware.
This is the thing you're using. And it just feels like the biggest miss in the world. I don't know. Yeah, Nikki says organizing D&D for 6 is difficult. 8 for Warhammer is insane. Tom, what is my rules for organization of a D&D game? What is the rules?
That no one gets to come? Like
no one misses a game.
Well, no one misses a game, and the table's not open.
Correct.
Like, it is a very select invite.
If you have made it to the elite club of my table, you better be here. You better show up. And if you're not here, it better be for a good reason. And I better be notified a week in advance of what is happening.
These are all true statements regarding Vince's D&D table.
That's how you keep a weekly game, as I have every week for 23 years.
Indeed.
You have to be like, to no more like, well, when are people available? This is the day. You're all here, or this game's done. Period. Okay. Anyways, there we go. We'll have to talk about D&D some other time. We should do a D&D related show.
We should. A glimpse into Vince's world.
Yeah.
This is what it is. This is what it means to be Vince's.
If you've ever been at Holy Havoc or Holy Wars and seen how I run the raffle, same story. It's the same story. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's I want to talk about strong points a little bit. Okay? Because strong points are just this independent floaty rules thing that are there. Efren said D&D Weekly. Efren, if I was ever like suddenly didn't have to do my normal job, I will tell you right now, I would do a Magic show on Mondays, I would do Warhammer on Wednesday, and I would do a D&D show on Fridays. Like that is what I would do. 3 live shows a week, and that would be what would be happening. I'll tell you right now. But unfortunately, I just
you might actually be able to support yourself that way as a content creator
sure.
with
Like-
those other audiences, the not Warhammer audience.
And I'd put them all in the same channel. Like I'm not starting a new channel. Forget that.
Of course.
My channel's just
Of
my
course.
name. It's not. It's fine. Okay. I want to talk about strong points. It's its own sort of rule set. So you can use it in anything, right? Like obviously they just sprinkle it throughout this book like Salt Bay or whatever, right? They're just strong points. Okay. So I thought, well, let's give it a look. Is this something we would want to use? Like, is this something we'd want to use for our regular match play games? I don't know. Maybe. Let's have a look. Richard, sort of, not really. Not like in the traditional sense. Not like at a full con. There is always some people painting around on like some other tables outside of the event and stuff, but you'd have to have like your own light and gear and stuff like that. In other words, there is a table, but nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say, Richard, is that like there are a handful of come fairly regularly. They don't play, but they do set up a table out in like a lobby area.
Yeah.
Just outside, like there's two different gaming rooms of tables, and there's a shared common space in between those. And I've seen a lot of folks set up tables out there, and like spouses will often like sit out there doing work, and some people will come and just hang out and paint and stuff like that. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So let's talk strong points. So Tom, I got some sample strong points in here. This isn't all of them. I'm not gonna like, it's not everything in the book.
Yeah.
There's more strong points than what I'm showing here. I just grabbed a couple at random. But it's some of the terrain you've seen. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So like you've got the little idol guy, right? The little dude or the Nexus Siphon. Both of these like came out of the box set that had the dumb
the incarnate
that had the
Yes.
incarnate in it. Okay.
the
So
Gur,
like
the Gur realm terrain box.
Yep, exactly. So the Guardian Idol, 15 wounds, 5 resources, 4 up save, right? Resources means something depending on what you're doing with strong points and whatever, but the terrain feature is a strong point. It's impassable, and then like for the Guardian Idol, friendly models within 3 inches of the terrain feature have a ward of 6 up. Like this is actually included basically in your army. Like it's your strong point, right? So friendly models means like if it's the stuff in your army. If the enemy gets near it, they don't have it, right? Okay.
Yep.
The Nexus Siphon is like 20 wounds worth 8 resources. It's got a 4 up save, again, impassable. And then friendly models affected by a Guardian Idol's Sentinels of Civilization scenery rule have a ward of 5 up instead of 6 up if the Guardian Idol is within 24 inches of this terrain feature. So like they work together. That's why I wanted to show both of these, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then here, a couple of interesting ones. They have like they kind of go across the AOS terrain. They have some older ones in here.
It'd be great if Baleful Realm Gates were still available.
Sure. So like the domicile shell, like just the walls, your L-shaped wall, right? Your classic L-shaped wall. Each time a model in a friendly unit wholly within 6 inches of any terrain features with this scenery rule flees, roll a die on a 4+. That model does not flee. Is that just because they run into the wall and can't get away?
That's it.
Is that all that is?
Yeah. No, they go and hide behind the wall, and so they're comforted.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the Baleful Realm Gate at 20 wounds, it's not a very, normally they're kind of more matched to the size, but this thing's like, because it's so powerful, it's like a magical thing. And if you remember, Tom, in early AOS, we did play these things with rules. You remember when they launched the initial terrain set and they all had like rules and we would use them on the table?
I remember.
We used Realm Gates all the time on my table and you could teleport
Yeah,
between them.
Vince, I own a book that's on my shelf that is just AOS terrain.
That's right. So the Baleful Realm Gate is 20 wounds, 4 up save, again impassable, yada yada. At the end of your movement phase, you can pick one friendly unit wholly within 9 of this terrain feature. If you do so, remove that unit from the battlefield and place it to one side as a reserve unit. At the end of your next movement phase, you set it up anywhere on the battlefield wholly within 7 of the battlefield edge and more than 9 from all enemy units. Okay, sure. So you can like take a unit off board and then bring it back in next round. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine. It's not as cool as when you could just teleport between the realm gates. That was way cooler.
Yep.
So here's my question, Tom.
Yep.
Are these things is this an interesting way to go philosophically to have terrain with hard rules like this that you can optionally use or not on your table? Like, do you like this as an option, as an arrow in your quiver for building your table? Like, would you want to play a game with these things on there? Do you think it's a good thing that they are on there?
So let me lean into something that you guys said last week. Okay. The answer is it's yes and.
Okay.
And the right answer here is that this is how, realistically, from the beginning, all faction terrain should have worked. In that we should have had a stable of terrain pieces that you could bring for your army, that you could put on your board as part of your like display board or whatever, and then you could include it in your army. And faction, like, so there would be some generic terrain that players could bring, which would help TOs out.
Yep.
And for those that have faction terrain, they could sub in faction terrain for this other.
Okay.
That's how it should always have been. Like, if you're going to do that, so that everybody had an option, you can bring your own special kind of bennies, right? That you can create loci on the battlefield that would give some type of buffs or some type of fortifications or whatever. It would help fill out the tables. It would ease the strain on TOs. Like, I think that's a slam dunk, like all the way down. And it made sense. Like, you could, it's functionally mirroring how they've done endless spells.
Yep. Well, except this doesn't cost points or anything. It's just stuff you choose to include on the table, right?
I understand. But what I'm saying is that you could have a stable of generic terrain pieces, or you could bring in your army specifically.
Sure. Here's what I'll say. Here's my take on it. I don't mind it as long as it's wholly optional.
Sure.
What I mean by that is, like, if it's wholly optional and you don't like it, don't use it. Cool, end of story.
Right.
Right? But if they're going to put out a terrain piece in these boxes, I'd actually like it to have rules where it can actually do something on the table, where it can be meaningful. Yep. Now, stuff like the domicile shell is so weak, like, with what it does. What is this now? What I'm sorry, what?
It's a Skaven terrain piece where you put your low, or it's a Gloomspite terrain piece where you put your low brave.
Yeah, sure. Stop your gits from fleeing, like, whatever. So, whatever on the quality of these rules. But conceptually, I like the idea. Like, if you're going to create the terrain piece, it seems you could go the last mile and have these simply be like, they should have rules. So if people want to include them, they can. And as long as it's wholly optional, like, both players can choose to include up to 8 resource points worth of whatever in their army. Like, if both players agree, you can both include up to 8 resource points worth of strong points in your army and set them up with your army. Like, okay,
yeah,
sure, cool, fine, great, cool, all right. I have no problem with that. Like, that seems fine. I think it's like, tournaments is a whole separate issue. Like, I agree with you. There's an advantage with allowing for the TOs to do it, but there's also some downsides to it. But it is what it is. But having, like, real terrain rules seems very much a positive, especially if they're actually interacting with the board. And again, optionally. I cannot state that enough. There's just going to be people who don't like this, don't want this on the table, don't want the extra memory load, and they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to know this crap. They should just be able to put together a board that they like, that looks pretty, and mark certain things impassable and mystic or whatever, or don't use those rules even, right? Just like, this is impassable, this is cover, and that's the end of the story.
Yep.
All right. So
yeah, I mean, I would find it compelling if people could, like, if it was a build option, like a light touch build option for army construction. Like, I find that super interesting.
I don't ever want to make buying terrain part of my actual army construction.
I'm what I'm saying, hear me. Like, I'm not saying that it costs points.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can have it as part of your army construction, just like you pick a grand strat.
Like, if all the players decide they want to use this rule.
Right, or it could be in a battle pack or whatever. Like, but what I would do is I would unify it with faction terrain, and I would also probably unify it, dare I say, with endless spells as well. Make it all part of the same resource pool.
Sure, so it's just all coming from a resource pool you select, and then optionally you can choose to use these elements or not. Turn them all off or on universally. I don't hate that.
Yep.
The endless spells is probably the only part I don't like, but I do agree that, like, faction terrain would be great if it just became optional, And like if it wanted to be included, it took up some kind of resource points. Like that's fine.
Yeah, like let it live in that space. Let it be something that's optional that TOs can turn on. And so, but that also means that like terrain needs to not be an essential part of like balancing for armies. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
needs to
sure.
be a layer that's
Well,
separate
assumingly it's
from
almost all a completely universal choice. Like that's to say,
right.
any one piece is available to anyone, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Except for faction terrain, it would be the
except for
exception.
the faction terrain. Yeah,
Yeah. And the other thing that I would say with it is that I really think endless spells should be in there too, and just pull them out of point. Like, look at the last 3 years of endless spells. Like, how much of a nightmare has the point rebalancing and the rewriting of those war scrolls been?
You're not gonna get any disagreement from me.
Right, because like finding those will always be moving targets, right, from a point standpoint, because of how that needle keeps moving on the valuation within an army, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything else. And now it's competing for unit space and all that. But if it was outside of that resource pool, it was a different resource pool. I think it would be like, or let me say this, let me push this one step farther, and you're going to hate, totally okay with that.
Okay.
What if you rolled this in with things like enhancement?
Where like you pick this stuff, like you're choosing this in the enhancement selection phase.
In the enhancement selection space. So this is then competing with your resource pool of bonus spells. This is competing with your resource pool of bonus items. Like all of this is in that. So you have like items and all of that. Those features that are purchased are have a point value, a resource point value, and you get 10 resource points that you can spend. You can spend on terrain. You can spend it on an item. You can spend it on spells. You can spend it on whatever you want.
Sure. The reason I hate that, you are correct, I hate that.
Yep.
The reason I hate that is one, it takes the most complicated section of the book that nobody understands, like new players especially, and makes it more complicated. But importantly, two,
it takes all of those things and assigns a point value.
I understand. They all have some kind of resource point. I get it. Yeah. You get to make X choices, whatever. That's more complicated because making more choice equals complexity, Tom. You should know this. That's how game design works.
I understand that. I understand that, but we're already making those choices, but hiding those choices in other things. Like
number two reason I don't like it is choosing an artifact costs me nothing. I mean that in money terms, real world money terms. Okay?
Sure.
Choosing terrain means I have to go buy this stupid thing, which may or may not be available. Like, because this is the problem.
If you want that thing, sure.
Yeah,
well some would say
which I may want. Modeled. If that's what I want for my army, I got to go pay for this stupid thing.
Some would say that modeling items likewise costs money. Like for those that want to model the items.
It most certainly does not, and it is not required. But I cannot just set up a Coke can and call it a domicile shell.
You do, but that's fine.
Okay. I mean, like it's.
I've seen your cardboard terrain, Vince.
Yeah, that's fine, and I don't call it that thing. All right, yes, I classically just use my own terrain. Also, that was like my Mordheim board. I have perfectly fine and serviceable terrain for my table. Thank you very much, Tom. I just hate it because the more it's there, the more it's integrated into those core systems, the more it just feels like it's going to not be optional. That it's no longer optional when it's wrapped in with all that crap.
I mean, sure.
A separate subsystem that's just like, if you all want to use this thing, here's rules to make your little buildings real.
Well, historically, I hear that, but what I'll say is this. If you do it that way, it'll never get ever. Just like Malign Portents and just like every other subsystem that has ever been created. We have no instance of any subsystem in AOS that's ever been created that's been adopted by the event scene as a whole.
Who cares? I don't care about them. They're not the people that matter.
I'm saying in any type of like community-wide penetration.
Subsystems have simply I don't know what's going on at people's table that they do or don't use certain rules. I just want to give people options for what they can play with at their tables. That's way more important. The tournament scene will decide to do whatever the tournament scene decides to do. Okay? And, like, that's fine. They can adopt it and say everybody has to bring a piece of terrain or not, and one of these pieces of terrain or not. I don't care. Okay. But that's completely irrelevant to me and up to each TO to decide individually how they would want to use it. Hey Gareth, what's up? Yes, what I mean is like TOs like Gareth are going to make decisions that they're going to make based on what they think is going to be the strongest tournament. And if that means using a subsystem, they'll use it. If it means not using a subsystem, they won't. That's the beginning and end of it. Okay? And people who want to play in that tournament will do that or not. But that doesn't have anything to do with like these optional subsystems that are out there. Like it adds more options for people to play and enjoy and engage with the game and get value from the toy that they bought. It makes the toy more useful. That's it.
I hear that. And what I'm saying is that my supposition is that when you look across the Warhammer like ecosystem as a whole, subsystems are just not generally being deployed almost at all.
Again, I don't know. I'm not in people's basements, man. I don't know what they're doing.
This would be a great thing for us to gather data on. But what I would say is this.
I ain't never seen Path to Glory played at a tournament, but my understanding is a lot of people do enjoy it.
Well, and this would be an interesting thing to, like, what percentage of the community regularly engages? What percentage of the community regularly engages? What percentage of the community regularly engages in these other subsystems that have been created?
Yeah, I don't know.
And my suspicion is very, very few.
That's a neat supposition based on zero data. But like, and by the way, even if it were true, that still wouldn't be anything because that would be correlation, not causation. That'd be like you're at the depths of logical fallacy right now. Because bad subsystems might not get adopted, but good subsystems might. People have.
But what I'm saying is, we've never seen any subsystem that's
really
had
okay.
Wide
Mo made points. Did people adopt that?
There was no way to balance any systems in those first
15 different people who tried different ways to decide what was to be brought to the table.
And the least worst example
made a version that got adopted. There have been other subsystems that end up getting used. The terrain system that Rob made and that other people have also gone has largely become the standard for what tournaments use. Like, disagree. Subsystems that are quality get implemented because they're quality. Okay? Subsystems that are bad do not because TOs aren't dumb. That's
yeah, but again, but I agree with you to go back to what you said. I don't. It's not just about events. Like, if you walk into your normal local store and roll dice at the pickup games on Saturday, no one is using subsystems there.
No one's using tons of rules from the game there. No one's using mystical terrain. What is that? That's part of the core rules. Is that
I'm
not
aware.
A subsystem? Okay.
I am super aware.
Again,
that's what I'm saying.
It has nothing to do with its placement in the game as being optional or not, which is what I'm arguing for. It has to do with the quality of the thing. Does it enhance the game or not? Like, is it actually a good system that enhances the game? That's it, man. And exactly what Gareth said. Malign Sorcery started as a subsystem. TOs adopted it, so it was added to the main game. Like, and an optional way, like, is this... The next question is this a preview for 4th edition? Are we going to see something like this in 4th edition? As, like, the formal terrain rules. Like, basic terrain rules... impassable, blah, 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 whatever. Basically them adopting the community standards, which I believe they will do.
Yeah, as the stock. As
the stock. And then, like, advanced terrain rules. Here's this optional thing where you can actually put the little toys that you bought to some kind of use. Here's the rules for them. I think that feels very much like what they would do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to see is the answer.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this feels like it could easily be one of those preview things where, like, it's not this system exactly, but it's something akin to this, right? Whatever fits in the next world. Because I mean, there's been a rumor going around that everything's getting indexed, and I know
you're all behind it. If that happens, you're in.
Of course everything will be indexed. Like, it's the 4th edition, so it's time. It's time to index. Like, we haven't done it in a while. It's time. Shut it down. Start over. That's what we do every 3 editions. Much like the Great Wheel itself, Tom, it's always rotating and always coming back to the same place.
Well, what that means is that let's just tuck in for inequality and unbalance.
Or the opposite. Could be the opposite. Who knows? But it's always fun. But you know, Tom,
if the recent edition change for 40K is any indication,
I'd still take indices 1,000 times over using your 4-year-old battle tome. Like, 100%.
And I hear that. So it will likely become the Wild West if that's the case. Moving forward.
Man, talking about Wild West quite a lot today. All right.
Indeed.
So, I'm sorry, Dougie Fresh, but it's probably going to happen. Your rules are probably going away. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is very likely the situation. I don't know anything, but if you asked me to place money, I would place a sizable bet. Okay. You know, Tom, old ideas eventually come back up. That's how the wheel of Warhammer works. And just like that means it's story time, Tom. Da-da-da-da. There's the segue. Okay. Story time. Everybody settle in. Here we go. It's story time. It's where Vince sarcastically talks about the story from AOS. And here we go. This is where Vince tells the story of the absolute dumbest group of humans that have ever existed in the mortal realms and how they continue to survive despite themselves. Here we go. Let's get into it. Tom, you remember how in the last book, the Twin-Tailed Crusades were heading out. They're in Akshi and Gairan. Hit like for story time, by the way. If you haven't hit like yet or subscribe, do that. Keep the story time fun train rolling. So you remember how on the Akshian Crusade side, they like half the army was very sensible under a guy named Commander Smold and had just like left, had been like, look, enough of this dumb religious zealot who's clearly trying to get us all killed, right? And they just like packed up and bounced. Remember that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, I hate to inform you that unfortunately Smold was actually one of those Zinch dudes who's like got 3 arms on one side. What's the name of that guy? The Changeling or whatever? Is that what it is?
Yeah. No, it's the Magister?
No, it's not a Magister. That's their normal spellcaster. It's the Impersonator guy. I really think it's the Changeling. But anyways, it turns out that's what happened, and they all died.
Like the unique hero?
Yeah, the unique dude. Yeah.
Oh,
The Impersonator assassin guy. Yeah. Turns out he was that guy the whole time, and then he killed his second, third, and everybody in command. Yeah, the Changeling, I'm right. And then...
and led all those people off to...
and then reshaped his little putty people into being impersonators and is trying to march back into Hammerhall as like a little sneaky 5th column of Zinch. Okay, let me tell you why I hate that so much. Because meta-narrative matters. Right?
Sure. Yep.
Anytime we have a story, we have to ask, what is this story actually saying? What's the textual analysis? Yep. And so the sane people who didn't fall to religious zealotry and give their lives for a completely stupid purpose, right? And did the sensible thing. Like, they were leading their army back to Hammerhall to help defend their city. It's not like they were doing something fear-based. They were doing a reasonable thing, right? This is pointless. We're going to march back and defend our city that's under attack, right?
Yep.
What the meta-narrative is saying is that, no, in fact, that's wrong. Those people were wrong. They all died. So they were wrong. Okay? And in fact, the correct people are the lunatic religious zealots who have no care for their own life or safety or anyone else around them or their society or civilization, and in fact just throw themselves upon the mill to be no more than grist. That is in fact the best you can hope for. That's a horrible metatext. Okay. So like that made me actually very upset, right? Because that's just not good metatext. And I'm sure that they weren't thinking about that. They just, because I don't think they think deeply about these stories, frankly. I don't know. But it's unfortunate. All right. But let's pick back up with our groups here, right? Okay. So we're going to start off in Akshi, in Hammerhall.
Okay.
So we start off with Cthulhu. We're going to have a different name for her later, as you'll see, Tom. Because this is the stupidest, most ridiculous character they have ever introduced for reasons that I will talk about as we get into it.
Okay.
But she walks into Nargarai, which is the, like, Cainite temple in Hammerhall, Akshi.
Yep.
And she's like, approaches the Hag Queen, and she's like, oh, you'll see, as I have seen. Okay? And then, like, some witches go to attack her, and then the doors bust open, and Doomfire Warlocks just ride in. Get used to this, okay? Because I cannot explain, Tom, the number of times in this story I'm about to recount where the sentence, and then suddenly Doomfire Warlocks busted open the doors and rode in, is going to be said. I don't know how sneaky people on horses are, but apparently the answer is very sneaky.
So sneaky.
So sneaky. People on horses are just sneaking everywhere. So yes, a full cavalry unit sneaks its way into the building and then rides in and ambushes. And kills everybody in there. And she takes over Nargarai. Okay, so she's now basically... And she worships Morag High, like a different sort of old god, and talks about how that god's going to be coming back again and blah, 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 all of this. Now, none of that is really interesting. Here's the interesting part, Tom. Are you ready? When she takes the Hag Queen, she, like, rips out the Hag Queen's eyes and then throws her in, like, dumps boiling blood on her and then throws her into a fire. And as she's emulating, she actually has visions. Like, the Cthulhu grants her the same visions that she's seen. Okay?
Yep.
And here are the visions, okay, in the initial one. Her initial visions are chains of shadow, dying armies, a king with a cloak of masks whose blood turns rivers crimson, skulls piled high as towers, as castle towers, okay, the phoenix consumed by a black sun, and green fire engulfing the world. Okay?
Cool. Yep.
All right. Chains of Shadow, I don't know. Slanesh, probably. That was my first thought. Sure. That's the chains in the Shadow Realm.
Yep.
The Dying Armies just feels like talking about the two Crusades. So that seems on point. The King with a Cloak of Masks whose blood turns rivers crimson. That's Usharan. That's actually going to get paid off in this story. The skulls piled high as towers is clearly referencing what's his name, Terry Tate, Corgus Call, who's gonna feature heavily in the next story, obviously. The Phoenix consumed by the Black Sun is gonna be my explanation. Is their explanation for why there's no more Phoenix card, Tom? Because obviously they got written out of the book, right? But the Phoenicium still theoretically exists.
Sure.
Right? Sure. We haven't narratively gotten rid of the Phoenicium yet. Right?
Yep.
But they're not in the city's book.
I have an AOS Phoenicium force. I am aware.
So I think they made that new book and we're like, well, we're not using Phoenix card. We're going to retire them to the old world or whatever. Right? And... but we still have this problem of this entire Phoenix city, which was like the most beautiful founding of a city. I really loved the story of the founding of the Phoenicium. Like the Phoenix, the Frost and the Fire Phoenix, like circling around and performing this ritual and everything. It was a beautiful story. Consumed by the Black Sun. So clearly they're just gonna literally wipe that city off the map and be like, oh, all the Phoenix Guard were there. They're all dead. Oops.
All of the Phoenix Guard were there. They're all dead.
Like that is what that sounds like to me. And then Green Fire is just Skaven coming. Got it. Yeah, we know. Okay.
Yeah, it's Warp Fire. Cool.
Yeah, it's just Warp Fire. Okay. So that's her visions broken down. That was the actual interesting part of that scene. We're gonna have a couple of these sort of visiony scenes, okay? Because people who see the future in fantasy stories Don't just show up and be like, yo, man, look, here's the deal. Right? No. Everybody who sees the future has to talk in cryptic riddles like a moron. All right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Like, just tell people. Just tell people.
Just warn them.
Yeah. Stop being a cryptic weirdo. Okay? All right.
Yep.
So, let's pick up with Callis and Toll. They've been, as I've said before, the balcony Muppets of this entire story, where they're just like sitting there and they show up in asides, like making fun of people and calling people stupid. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, Callis and Toll are actually in this story. The Phoenix and the Black Sun could be Tyrion and Malarian alternatively. Sure, absolutely. Could be. Yeah, the Phoenix King and the Black Sun. Yeah. Like Black Sun. Haha. Get it? Because, okay. Sun.
Yeah.
But like
We got it.
different meaning. I am the sun. I am the air. That kind of thing. Okay. So, Callis and Toll, they're onto the wine. They're onto the wine. Remember, Usharon is poisoning the city of Hammerhall with his wine. It was originally a Neferata plot, but he's taken over now. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that his madness is slowly turning people into ghouls and stuff like that, right? But they're onto this. And it's so funny. They like talk about how they capture someone, and he starts ranting, and he's saying like, "Oh, we'll poison the roots of your well and all will suffer." And Callis is like, "He means the water supply under the city." And I'm like, "Yeah, you think? Real good detective work there, Sherlock Holmes. Really, somebody knows how to write a detective story. Let me tell you what. Boy, oh boy. Really had to crack the code on that one." It was like the most obvious. Callis cleverly intuited. They literally say that in this story. Like, he cleverly intuited the real meaning. I'm like, no, he just said the words.
No.
But I guess that's
He
what you
just
get.
connected the very obvious dots.
Yeah, I mean, what this is the point of this, Tom, is that in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So in the land
Sure.
of complete morons, the average intelligence person is basically the hardest core, smartest dude around, right? Because as near as I can tell, there's not a human in the city that has a whit of intelligence about them. Okay, so basically they need to get down into the down in Hammerhall Akshi. There's like the underwater sluice works and pipes and things, all of dwarven design, right? They got to get down there, but it's huge. It's like this giant, labyrinthine thing. So they need help. So who are they going to call? They get the Undercrofters. The Undercrofters are like these Wildecorp hunters. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're hold on. Here we go. Sorry, everybody. They're these they're these Wildecorp hunters who are too cool for your rules, man. They're too cool for you. They're in prison right now. We gotta get them out because they've got a job to do. Okay. Look,
Amazing.
that is an old trope, and it can be done well. For example, Tom, here we go. I'm going to quote somebody. I'm gonna throw you out a quote here, Tom. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. I want everybody to their raptors right now, and somebody get Starbuck out of the brig. Right?
Sure.
That's how you do that trope well. You start out by having the hotshot pilot punch their commanding officer in the face over a poker game.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
At any rate. Okay. So, they get the Undercrofters. These dudes who are just too BA to be regular Wildecorpse hunters. They're the rootinest, tootinest, foul-mouthed sons of guns around, right? And they head down into they let some of the dogs sniff the wine to get the scent. And then some of the dogs just turn into ghouls and they have to put them down. I'm like, why did that have to be in the story? Why did killing dogs have to be in the story? That's just unnecessary.
It's sad.
Like, they just smelled it. Okay, great. So anyways, they're on the trail. All right. Now, but we're going to go back and forth here, Tom. This whole thing. In Hammerhall, we go back and forth the whole time. Okay? Yeah, exactly. Yep. Stuart Angleton says, still wanted by the government. They survive as soldiers of fortune. Yes, if you can find them. You just might hire the Undercrofters. Dun, 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 dun. YouTube demonetization. Okay, so here we go. The Hammerhall Crusade. Remember, Tom, last time they beat up all the ghosts, all the Night Haunt?
Yep.
On Curse Mountain. right? Where
Yep.
the vampires show up every 107 years.
Yeah.
Like, intentionally, the vampires show up every 107 years. Their giant castle shifts into existence, right?
Yep.
And they have a big battle there every 107 years. Okay. And is the site of a bunch of Night Haunt and evil people, right? They all decide the only logical thing to do at this point is to found our city right here on Curse Mountain.
That checks out.
Tom, you ever played like Civilization or any of those games?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know where you find you found cities in that game, right?
Sure.
And where you found cities is like where there are resources, right? Like there's a river, there's
Yep.
resources, there's fish. You're starting near a coast when you start your game of Civ 2 and there's a whale right off the edge of the coast. Oh, you are in the money, baby. Okay. Right?
Yep.
Not randomly on Curse Mountain. Okay. Now, as it turns out, there does happen to be a high value resource here. But they didn't know that at the time they decided to found this city. They just were just like, well, we're starting here, and they start building stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
This
W
is
Husk,
personal.
they are that dumb. I wish I was lying, but I'm not. So as they're exploring Curse Mountain, they find that in the deep recesses of Curse Mountain, there's pure veins of Oxite, or Oxyite or whatever, the realm stone of Oxy.
Yep.
Right? That sort of white
Yep.
metal. Okay. And they're like, yay, there is a reason for us to be here, I guess.
Cool.
We'll start mining this. Okay. All right. So they dig into the catacombs. It is, of course, cursed because it's Curse Mountain and evil.
Because of course it is. Yeah.
Right?
That checks out.
And when they get to the center of the catacombs, right? What do they find, Tom? Oh, by the way, all of the catacombs have the iconography of the wheel that Sinestra follows.
They're clearly holy. Then.
Okay. And they get to the center. A big giant like room. Okay.
Yep.
Big giant cavern. And the wheel is on the floor. This huge wheel. The same thing Sinestra carries around as her holy symbol, right? And
Yep.
smack
I
dab
see
in the center of
I
the
see
wheel.
nothing concerning about that at all.
Absolutely nothing concerning about this so far. In the center of the wheel is a giant portal to Shaiish. Okay.
Yep.
And so they're like, huh, well, that's not good. Okay. And then the temperature drops like 40 degrees and Night Haunt comes spilling out of it.
Yep.
And
As they're wont to do.
As they're wont to do. And leading them is Reignor the Grimhaler, however you say his name.
Yep.
That guy.
My boy Reignor.
Yeah. Reignor comes out. He kills all the dwarves, all the dwarven miners. He just lops off their heads. He kills the king. Like, they're nothing.
Yep.
They're like Sir not appearing in this story. Because like, old school dwarves don't actually matter. They're not near heroic enough to stand against even like an average hero like Reignor, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he has a bunch of Pyregeists. This book, more than anything, Tom, is like Saturday morning cartoon shows trying to sell you merchandising. Every new unit gets mentioned in here in detail. So he summons all of the Pyregeists, the new guys from that Pyre and Flood or whatever the box set was. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he's going to have them, as near as I can tell, use evil magic and their flames to turn the Oxyite into a necrotic bomb to sort of like poison all of the realm metal and turn it and make the mountain explode.
Yeah, that checks out.
That's his plan, as near as I can understand it. It's not super clear. He's a ghost. I don't know. At any rate, the ghosts flood out of the thing. They're like they're flooding out, but then we leave that story. Back to Callis and Toll. Okay, this is jumpy. Okay, Callis and Toll. They're deep down. Tom, they're deep down in the Undercroft, or in this place. They've got the Undercrofters leading them. Sorry. So
Yep.
they're in this labyrinthine maze of pipes and sewers and like the architecture that goes back to even before the founding of Hammerhall, like way back into the depth of when this was like a dwarven foundation in the age of myth. That's how old these tunnels are. And they're backtracking and, you know, they layer on top of each other and there's dead ends and everything, right? So that's the point they're making, is that like even their little dungeon explorer who's with them, you know, because they have the little rogue dungeon explorer girl with them. She's like, there's no way I could find my way through here if it wasn't for the Undercrofters. And even then, it's only their dogs that keep them on the trail.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Because they have the goodest of boys.
They have the goodest of boys, yes. Okay. So they go deeper until eventually they find like pump station 37, which should tell you how big this place is if there's 37 pump stations, right? Because assuming that it's not the last one. So there's more. And they see skin hanging everywhere. And all the water just has bodies floating in it. And there's like macabre piles of bones and gristle and everything like that. All in the shape of like the Yellow King. Right?
Yep.
Okay. And guess what, Tom? It's full of FEC. Hey, they all spill out. All the dwarves who work down here are dead. Everybody's dead. It's all just ghouls. It's all just ghouls.
Sure.
Okay. And so they spill out, and the Wildercorps are all like, they line up, they do their work. They're all putting bolts into ghouls. The dogs are tearing people apart. And immediately, Callis, Toll. Toll's the witch hunter, right? Yeah, Callis is his buddy. Yeah, I get them confused. Anyways, immediately Toll turns around to the rogue and is like, we're out of here. Okay? And she like whips her grappling hook up into the station above. Okay, into the actual pumping station. And he's like, Callis, we're leaving. And Callis is like, but all these guys are gonna die. And he's like, okay, too bad, so sad. We got to stop this. This is what we're here about. And you know, I mean, like he is making the right call. He's like, if all of them die, but we save the city, that's the right call, right?
Yeah.
So I do like that's a reasonable call. I actually support this. It's like a smart decision made. Okay.
Sure.
So they basically climb up into there and leave the Wildercorp people to die, to fight off the ghouls, right? There's a big group of them, but there's a lot of ghouls.
Sure.
Okay. Back to Sinestra. Tom, Night Haunt, they're just spilling out everywhere. There's ghosts coming out. You know, they're killing through steel helms. This whole story...
And she's worshipping the wheel.
It's called... Yes,
Continue.
Correct. This whole story is called Steel Helms and Cannons Are Useless. Flagellants Rule. Okay? Because that's like every beat in this story. Because what happens is, obviously, the steel helms swing at them, but they're all afraid. And as you know, the ability of your weapons to damage Night Haunt is based on your belief, your conviction that you can. Right?
Yeah. Well, the good news is that fanatics are fanatical.
Correct. So when the flagellants get into them, they just rip them apart. Like, these guys do not have a save. Again, like the way it sounds, like the way they write it, it's like their ethereal save shuts off to flagellants. They are just crushing these guys. Like,
well, here's the good news.
Go ahead.
Here's the good news to that. Everyone knows that you deal with Night Haunt by weight of dice.
Sure.
Like weight of the packs. And so guess what? Flagellants win.
Yeah, it does. Like, this ludonarrative dissonance not found. This is correct. So, at any rate, but the flagellants alone aren't going to hold back this tidal wave of Night Haunt, right? Like, they're doing serious damage. But basically, Reichnor comes out. He's just cutting people's heads off for fun. But his real prize is he wants Sinestra, right? And he kills a bunch of people, lands in front of her, and he's like, it's time for you to die. And she's like, you don't have it in me. You don't have it in you to kill me. Do you know what my ward saves look like? Get out of here. You're a wuss. Okay? And he's like, oh, yeah? Bloop. Which is just like the funniest move, by the way, as a retort. To be like, oh, yeah? I'll snuff my candle out on you. Now, I know what he's doing. He's snuffing his candle out to kill her, right? Because it does mortal wounds in the game, and that's how he draws people's souls when he snuffs out the candles, right?
Sure.
He just instant kills
as one does. Yep.
But he snuffs out the candle, and she just stares at him. Okay. And he's like, what are you? And she's like, more than you can handle. And he feels fear and bounces. He's just like, well, I couldn't kill her with the candle trick, guys. We're out. Let's go. That's it. He runs away. Like, he floats down, snuffs a candle. She's fine, seemingly. Like, she looks a little worse for wear. But she's like, and? And then he's like, well, that didn't work. And it specifically says he feels afraid. He's like, well, time to go. And he rounds up all his troops and they retreat. Immediately they run. Okay. Meanwhile, she's just like calling down lightning on him. The whole time he's like fleeing. Okay.
Stunning. Yeah.
He runs like a chump. Like a chump. He just flees, okay? He's like, it doesn't matter. I'll just blow up the mountain with my weird plan about turning metal into a bomb or something because of my fire ghosts that I'm doing somehow. Magic. He has like a very underpants gnomes plan, right?
Sure. Of course.
Okay. Back to Callis and Toll. This is how this story goes. Just very back and forth. So Callis and Toll get in a big fight because they're up in the sluice station and the door rips off to the station and it's a ghoul king. Like, it's not anybody special. It's just like a ghoul king, right? Like one of the dudes. And Callis immediately turns around and goes, nope, and shoots him in the head twice and blows him off the thing he's holding on to. He falls down in the muck water and they're like, got him. And then he comes back up out of the water because, 2 bullets aren't going to kill him. Although, technically, if Callis did hit twice and wound twice, he would actually kill a ghoul king on foot, just because of the way his rules work. But whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's not get into it. Because he is a wizard, and so he would do double damage. But at any rate, so
Nerd.
He comes back out of the water with a terror guy, with a terror guy, zombie dragon. I don't remember. He comes out with a big flappy, okay, and attacks the pumping station. So now the big flappy's like banging on the thing, right? And they're trying to fight. Basically, it's like picture of like a round metal station that's like literally propped up by pipes and things that's floating up in the air, right? And so it's hanging on that, and it starts ripping down the moorings that this thing is moored into the ceiling with, right? And the door is missing from previous being ripped off, and Toll, he's an old man, he goes tumbling. Callis grabs the rogue girl, but Toll goes bloop and falls out, and he's going to fall to his death. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Now, fortunately, Tom, at this time, he is saved by what I'm going to call, from this point forward, Crethusa Ex Machina. Okay? Out of nowhere, he's falling through the air, and Crethusa Ex Machina comes in and catches him in midair, and she's like, I have you, do not worry, and like takes him back up into the sluice station, right? And at the same time, the doors to this particular area bust open, Tom, and who's here? Oh, it's Doomfire Warlocks, baby. They're here. Throwing blue hot fire everywhere. Just fire for you.
Yep.
These guys better be litty in 4th Ed, okay? Because they are just ready. They bust in. They start throwing blue fire everywhere. Ghouls start immolating. They turn on the Terrorgeist and just end this thing. Which, this is the first time in history Doomfire Warlocks have beaten a Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, literally ever. But they house this thing, okay?
Okay.
And they're just they're riding their horses around down here. And then the cauldrons wheel in.
What?
Okay.
Into the crypt?
Into this place. Yes. Because Cthulhu likes cauldrons of blood. Like, that's her whole thing. Okay, as we'll see in her rules. So, like, Tom, we're in the sewers, in a location it took trained dogs to, like, go find, okay? Now, obviously, Cthulhu can see the future, so I guess she can just see her way through all the tunnels and know which is the right way to go and lead.
That's not how the future works, but go ahead.
Sure. And she just, like, she sneaks her whole army of Doomfire Warlocks into the sewers, the tight sewers that people are, like, squeezing through with all the pipes. And then the cauldrons of blood are here right behind it. Okay.
So what they didn't say is they said cauldrons of blood, but it was actually just witch elves carrying buckets of blood.
No, I think Cthulhu carries around like some kind of mega portable hole. She like flies in sneakily and then just unfolds this thing, and then like out of it come all her, just like pop, 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 like Pokeballs. She's got all her troops in Pokeballs. That's as near as I can figure it. Okay. All right. So at any rate, the FEC get dead. That's what happens. Okay. And basically she turns to Toll and she's like, "Be ready. Cryptic, scary things are coming. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but it's very spooky." That's her message to him. Like, if I was him, I would have been like, "Thanks. Super helpful. I know. We live in the mortal realms. There's always cryptic or spooky things coming around the corner. That's our life. You want to get a little more specific, lady?" Okay. So now back to the. Let's go back to Zenestra.
Sure.
All right. So
and whatever Zenestra is, because like clearly
yes, she's something else.
She's something else, much like Grungy or like whoever the one god was that was hidden amongst the.
Correct.
Like.
Correct.
Yeah, she's other.
She is other. Yes, that's going to get even more reinforced in a moment. So basically, the Nighthaunt have retreated, but the Arcanists know that like something wrong is happening, right? And there ends up being like a discussion of, well, do we go after them or do we just flee, right? And she says, "I and my most loyal faithful will pursue the Nighthaunt and go to the Realm Gate. I have foreseen the path through my ancient knowledge. I know the path down to the Realm Gate." And everybody's like, "Yeah, cool. All right, why not?" And so me and these lunatics are going to go chase down the ghosts. And you all stay out here and like get ready and like build up and fight some of the Nighthaunt that are like wave 2 of Nighthaunt or whatever that's going to show up, right?
Yep.
Okay. So she pushes in, follows the Great Wheels all the way down. Again, her same iconography. She's surrounded by like lunatics and flagellants and people like this. And she gets to the portal and confronts Reignor, and they have a big like magic showdown. They both like try to put their power levels over 9,000, right? But ultimately, Reignor breaks first. Okay, like he can't handle whatever. When his magic touches her, it like recoils, and he weakens and skips a beat, and that allows her to just basically like push all the way and crush him.
Yep.
And she summons, it specifically says, like, she summons ancient magic not seen since the age of myth. And she turns all of her flagellants into, like, living silver fire. Okay? Igniting them with the Oxian metal that's all around her, the Oxian Realm Stone. And then they just go and incinerate the ghosts. Like, all the Nighthaunt are dead. Reignor's the last one left. And he's like, deuces. He bounces. He jumps through the portal. And then with all of the sacred ash of the faithful scattered, the portal is basically like purified.
Yeah.
Okay.
As one does.
Yeah. And so Reignor dies again. Or doesn't die. Sorry, he flees again.
Yep.
Okay. So we end with basically our time in Hammerhall here with Callis and Toll having, so the city is going to be founded, right? Like she has driven away the Nighthaunt. They continue with their plan to found the city on Curse Mountain. And then Callis and Toll shut off the emergency switch on the pumping station and stopped any of the poison water from going all throughout Hammerhall, so not everybody's going to be crazy. They've rounded up all the wine. Unfortunately, a big shipment of the wine got on a boat and is now heading for the Gyranian Crusade. Okay, like it went through the portal.
Yeah, that checks out.
And is now heading for the Gyranian Crusade, and people are trying to stop it in time. Okay. And so they're trying to get a message to that crusade in time. I don't know, just like use magic, do ascending. It's not hard. This is very basic magic. Okay. But sure, why not?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to communicate now, cuz. All right, because it's convenient for the story.
It's a convenient story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Like, either account for the fact your world has magic in it in your plots, or don't.
Yeah.
All right. But don't have everybody's magic cell phones suddenly shut off because it's tough to figure out how to tell the story at that moment. Right. All right.
Yep.
Okay. So that's where we leave with Hammerhall. Now let's go over to Gyran, where again, there is an unknown shipment of this King's Blood, the crazy wine, heading for the crusade. All right. Now you remember, Tom, our Gyranian crusade, they had left the castle, basically the judge had been like, all right, you're free to go, get out of here, right?
Yep.
But the FEC still kind of dog them, and if any of them fall behind, then they get eaten. Okay, but for the most part, they're just running. Yeah. They're kind of like trying to move up. And as soon as they get out of there, they meet up with Sub-Marshal Vandus. He was the only smart one from all the other people who split up in the neck unexpectedly. Okay, and so he has his force still largely intact. So he reunites with what's her name, Thorian, the one who's turning into a tree. Yeah, and by the way, as this is going, she is becoming more and more infused with Gyranian magic as she's getting closer to the sort of realm, out to the wild realm. She's becoming more and more Thorian. She's the Grand Marshal of this particular expedition. Yeah. She's the like, she has Jade Mage in her bloodline, and she's slowly turning into a tree. Like her hands have become like bark and stuff, right? But as she's going, she's getting more hale and more healthy as she's getting closer to the wild magics of Gyran, right? So as she gets closer to raw Jade magic, she's getting more and more stronger and powerful and healthy. Okay. So she meets up with Vandus, and she's flourishing, but like her people are slowly going mad because some of them are still affected by the delusion. Okay. Yep. And so on. But they're heading for this,
as is wont to happen.
Sure. Yep. They're heading for this small town called Nathwaite's Crossing. Okay? Nathwaite's Crossing is this small outpost town that's founded on like a bay on the other side of the neck, within the realm of this giant ghoul king that they just met named Usharan, right?
Yep.
On the other side of an impenetrable bone wall they had to blow apart. On the other side of a giant army and an Orger army and an Orc army. And this small, tiny outpost is there. Okay? Nathwaite's Crossing. And they show up, Tom. What do you think they find? What do you think they find here, Tom?
Doomfire Warlocks.
No, they find the city in perfectly fine repair. Everything is working. Everything is happy. Nathwaite meets them, and he's like, "Hail and well met. It's so good to see you. Come, find succor and rest within our walls. You seem tired." And he like welcomes them in. He's super cool.
So clearly, it's a delusion.
And everybody, like, city's fine. Everything's running along. They just got a resupply. Tom. Just came in from Gyran. Came in by boat. And
weird.
There's all sorts of great stuff in there, including some hot new wine. And Nathwaite's like, yeah, he's fine. Everything's totally good here. We're definitely all not ghouls. It's all fine. Don't worry about it. And
so the delusion is so strong that it's fooling them who have arrived?
Well, no. He is in fact as he seems. He is a human.
Yeah.
As are the people in the buildings and stuff. But they specifically are like, well, the people of Nathwaite were strange and reclusive. They rarely left their house except at night. And I'm like, and everybody's like, no, this is all fine. Totally cool, man. As usual. Just the dumbest adventures. Okay.
Yeah.
So they walk into this tiny town in a Ghoul King's territory and get a welcome from a bunch of people who will not leave their house. And they even say, like, Tom, there's a line in here that's like, the people rarely left their house. They were reclusive, quiet, didn't speak much. But when you saw them, their skin seemed pale, sunken. Their eyes were recessed, and they always smelled a bit of, like, raw meat. And I'm like,
oh, Jesus.
Boy, you guys, maybe Toll is the greatest investigator in the realm. Okay.
Which doesn't say a lot for the rest.
And so, at any rate, all right. Remember Usharan got shot? Remember that? That happened.
He was like, oh, I've been wounded.
I have been wounded. Yes. So he keeps that up. He's like, oh, my noble servants, I have been wounded. I am on the edge of death. You must take me to the healing waters. Now, the important thing to understand here, Tom, is that out of the neck, there are two rivers that flow. Okay? One that goes south toward Nathwaite's Crossing, and one that goes north or west or east or whatever. They split in 2 different directions. It doesn't freaking matter. And there's an old dam on one of the rivers that's been since broken. Okay. All right.
Yep.
So Usharon's like, you must take me to the sacred waterfall where I may heal. And so his people all get together a big procession and carry him out there on a thing. And he like, now of course he's not actually injured. I mean, duh.
Of course.
But
he heals 2d3, of course not.
He bathes in the water of this waterfall that feeds these 2 rivers.
Yep.
It specifically feeds the river that's running one direction. Okay, like south toward Nathwaite's Crossing or whatever. And he contaminates the entire river by bathing in it once. It is now, if you drink that water, you go mad.
So are you saying that he's the definition of swamp?
I am saying that's insane. Tom, do you know how many millions of gallons of water flow through rivers? It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He bleeds like a couple drops of blood into it.
Vince, it just tells you how powerful his delusion presence is.
If he's really that powerful, here's an answer. Walk to the ocean. Step in. And then cut your wrist. He can heal it. Or something. By the way, this is not like, this is not a thing about self-harm. Obviously, please do not ever do anything like that. You're not an immortal Ghoul King who self-heals. But like, injure yourself in some way if you're Usharon, this immortal regenerating Ghoul King. And just step into the ocean and bleed like a gallon of blood. If 3 drops can literally contaminate a like 300-mile long river, Tom.
Yep.
Okay. Then that should easily handle the whole plane of Akshi. Like, that is just the most dumb thing I have heard in this story yet. He takes a bath in a river and poisons an entire river. How? Rivers keep... What? New water is going to keep coming. Did you have to drink that little bit of water? Even, like, there's... You understand what I'm saying, Tom? Like, a river flows. It's not a static pool.
Yep. Oh, I get it.
Am I crazy here? Am I alone?
No. I think that...
This is not how rivers work, and I really hate it.
I think that narrative liberty take it. I mean, I have no other way to describe what exactly is happening.
So, basically, Usharon takes a 5-minute bath in a river, poisons millions of gallons of water, even the millions of gallons that he did not touch that falls after he leaves the water. Such is the power of his incredible blood.
Yep.
But yes, if that's the case, walk into the ocean. Everything in the ocean will go insane with your curse, and then come onto land and start killing everything. You'll just win. Okay?
Amazing.
Right. Anyways. Dumb. So, meanwhile, the crusade itself comes to this plateau they want to found their city on. Because they've come to the place they want to found their city, which is like this plateau, like with three very protected sides. It's like some kind of jade mountain. And basically there's only one open side to it. It's like highly defensible. And there's a giant portal in the middle, like a realm gate in the middle. Okay? And this is kind of cool.
Yep.
The realm gate, Tom, is a giant flower. Like, it's a big giant flower. Like a huge flower that you walk into the middle of, and then it closes its petals, and you teleport to the other plane. I was like, oh, that's kind of
awesome.
That's a neat realm gate. I thought that was actually a really cool piece of writing. I liked that.
Yeah.
I'm
down.
So they show up there, and there's, on that plateau, there's some Slaanesh people who've decided to have, like, a bacchanal.
Seems perfectly reasonable.
They're here in this place because Glutos has sent them out looking for some of this wine. He heard about this wine, and he's like, I gotta get me some of that. He's fully aware of what it is. Okay?
I 100% believe that.
Yes.
Glutos is like, to excess!
Yes. Glutos knows what this wine is, knows who made it, knows its effects, very much wants to drink it. Which, yeah, good. I like, that makes sense. I'm here for it. Okay. So,
Amazing.
So they show up, like they're here, and they've been tracking the scent, and then they see the humans, and they're like, ah, the wine, and then they go out and they fight, and it's like a brief skirmish. He doesn't have a big force, so he just does a little lightning raid, and he steals all their wine. Okay, and then bounces. He leaves.
So he pulls a got yo shit.
Yes, correct. He steals all their wine and then leaves. So now that wine is off somewhere else in the world, apparently going to Glutos' thing. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. And then they leave, and they're like, all right, well, that was weird. But since there was like a Slanesh Bacchanal here, we've got to sanctify the lands before we can start building our city. So they're going through like the rituals and stuff to get rid of the Chaos Taint, right?
Yep.
Okay. So while this is happening, the river is now poisoned, and people are going mad drinking from the river. Yeah? Like it's starting to spread. And so Nathwaite is like, because basically they've split their forces. Like Nathwaite's back with Sub-Marshal Vandus. Like they're doing a rear guard while Thorian is up on the city, founding the city, right? And he's like, and Nathwaite's like, the river is poisoned. Clearly, it must have madness in it. We will rebuild the dam. And Sub-Marshal Vandus is like, all right, yeah, seems cool to me. And he's like, my people and I will do this. We don't need your help. Don't worry about it. We'll handle it. It's all good. You just stay over here. Don't ask questions. We're going to do it. And Vandus is like, okay, sure. Sounds good to me, buddy. I have no questions. Why would I ever ask questions? And so Nathwaite goes off and with his people, and they rebuild the dam. Okay? All right. And they rebuild it surprisingly quickly. The people of the city work tirelessly, day and night, needing little food, pausing only every so often to consume raw meat. Nothing weird here. And all of this is like in the story, Tom. I'm actually not exaggerating. This is the level of like obtuseness that these people have. I want to root for them, but they're too dumb to live. Okay. So, Vandus is like chilling out in his tent, and suddenly he's awoken because there's an elf in his tent. All right. And he's like, who are you? And the elf is like, I'm the other half of that new box set that's releasing. Okay. And it's a river Lumineth. All right. Like the Elementary River. Like those river Lumineth that are in the other half of the Pyre and Flood or whatever. Yeah. He's like, I'm the other new product coming out. You have to go, hey, exposition dump. Here is what's actually happening. Your boy Nathwaite is evil. You should go check on him. And also, the river is in fact poisoned, but they are bad. They're ghouls. He works for the Summer King. Okay. Woo. All right. And basically the elf is like, all right, well, cool. That'll get the humans to go off and just like confront this. And then we'll go save the river, because all we care about is rivers, because we're river people. That's our thing. We care about rivers, and this is a poisoned river. So hence, we're here. Like, their reason for being, Tom, is river cleanup. Not ponds, not lakes, not small pools. Rivers. They have a very specific mandate.
You thought that the mailmen elves were a trivial sub-faction. Mm-hmm. Just wait for river cleanup.
Yeah. Well, they're here. Get used to it. So, at any rate, River Elf new product exposition man shows up, explains it. Vandus immediately rides off. He's like, he gathers up some men and rides off. And the whole time he's riding, his men are like mumbling to themselves and like going more crazy and like gnawing at their own fingers. And he's like, is something wrong? It's probably just my imagination. I feel like I'm too paranoid. Like, this is the conversation he has with himself. Okay. So he confronts, so Nathwaite's up on the dam, and he's like, and the dam is rebuilt miraculously, very fast, right? This whole dam is rebuilt. And he's like, he confronts Nathwaite up on this like bridge, this rickety bridge, right?
Yep.
And he's like, Nathwaite, you're a villain. What have you done? And then like the lightning strikes or some light happens, and he looks down in the dam, and it's been rebuilt with corpses. Okay. Like all the dead Dawnbringers. Their bodies have been used to build the wall. It's like it's not completely, like there's stone and mortar in there as well. It's like a 300 situation. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. And immediately ghouls just jump out of everywhere and kill all of Vandas's people. And Nathwaite like grabs Vandus by the neck because he's preternaturally strong, because he's in the middle of undergoing his transformation to like assumingly I don't know, some kind of
something dead.
And he throws him off the bridge. Like they're up on a high bridge. He throws him off the bridge into the spiky corpse field below to his death. But suddenly, Tom, Cthulhu Ex Machina is here again. And for the second time in this story, she swoops in from off camera to save a falling person from their doom. Yes. Yes, Tom. That happens again.
And then cue the Doomfire Warlocks.
Not yet. Not yet. Okay. Just wait. Oh. So Cthulhu shows up, saves him. Okay. And then flies him all the way to the new city they're founding. Okay.
Okay.
And she's like alone. She's flying him alone. I want to be clear about this. She is so
she's
flying
leaving
character.
Everybody else.
Yeah, I mean everybody else who was with Vandus is dead. Okay.
Yeah.
And so with Submarshal Vandus. So it's just him. He's the only survivor of this little thing, right?
Okay.
She flies him several hours to this place. She is flying in the air alone because she is a flying bird lady, right?
Yeah.
She lands and she's like, "Hey yo, it's cool. I'm an elf. I don't worship Marathi. I'm here with an order from the council. I've got this cool writ from the Order of Azir. Everybody says we're cool." Right? And she's like, "Rally up your troops. We got to go bust that dam," because what they're doing with the dam is redirecting the poison river from the river that goes to Nathwaite that's already poisoned over here to the settlement. And so like your river will be, I don't know, I guess forever poisoned, because that's how rivers work. It's not like rivers aren't constantly refreshed with new water that rains from the sky and comes down from ice melt from higher mountains. Whatever.
Checks out.
Okay. Yep. I mean, a river can get polluted when something is regularly upstream of it, dumping toxic waste into the river or something regularly. But Usharon doesn't live in the river now.
Like I said, you got to watch out for that swamp ass.
At any rate, so she flies. All the troops mount up. Everybody mounts up. And they all ride out from their new founding city. They leave a small force behind to like guard the city. And they ride out, okay, to go confront him at the dam. And then they have the Battle of the Dam, okay? Yep. So Cthulhu is alone there with them. And they go to fight with the ghouls, but there's too many ghouls. They're going to get overwhelmed. But then, Tom, guess what? Out of nowhere, Doomfire Warlocks. They're here, baby. That's right. I want to point out that where this is currently happening, okay, where this battle happens, is on the other side, is months of travel by foot from Hammerhall. Okay.
Yeah.
It is on the other side of multiple enemy forces. It is on the other side of an OBR, Hadrian's Wall that has been rebuilt. Yep. It is on the other side of a winding, interminable, unknowable maze that at the center of which lies the Summer King Usharon's castle and is riven through with his ghouls. Okay?
Yep.
Also, there's a whole Cruel Boy swamp, too. They also fought some Cruel Boys off. That happened. It didn't matter. It's just it was so completely irrelevant. Also, there's an entire Cruel Boy army here, too. Just like Sir basically appearing in the story in name only. Okay?
Yep.
But somehow, her entire force rolls in. Witch Elves, Doomfire Warlocks ride in. The Cauldrons are rolling up again. Oh, yeah, they're here, baby. Because the Cauldrons can cure the madness. They basically dump their fiery blood on people, and it burns out the madness. And
that checks out.
Toll's like, his math is like, you got about a 7 in 10 chance to survive getting the curse burned out of you, depending on how advanced it is. You'll probably be scarred for life, but you'll be alive and not a cannibal. So, I don't know. I guess it works out. So, anyways.
Stunning.
Her whole force shows up. And then Cthulhu herself gets in like an aerial battle with the Gore Warden who's in charge of this particular force. There's like a Gore Warden who's here. Okay.
Yep.
And she kills him. She just like rips him to pieces.
Sure.
And when he dies, there is a really good scene. Like, amongst this dumb story, there is a really good scene. The story shifts in a little sidebar to Nathwaite's perspective. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he's watching this battle unfold as these heretics fight his noble forces, right? And he sees his lord, who is this Gore Warden, right? But to him is like a shining knight on a Pegasus.
Yeah.
He sees him get dismounted and thrown to the earth by this horrible witch elf crone, right?
Yep.
And he sees the thing fall to the ground and crack and its body break, its beautiful armor get tarnished. And he weeps for the death of his lord. But as his lord and the immediate nexus of the delusion dies, he gains clarity, right? Because now he no longer has the thing that's keeping his delusion intact alive and nearby. Mm-hmm. And so he suddenly had, because he's not fully transformed yet. He's still basically, like, he's still halfway human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he suddenly, like, I've been exposed to truths. And he sees what all he's done. And he looks down and he sees the bodies that he's built his dam in. And he sees what his own forces are, right? And he's like, oh my God, I am a monster. I have to, he's like, and he takes his moment of clarity and he looks down and he sees the like explosive charges they used on a cart to help like clear earth to build the dam. And he takes his pistol out and walks over to the cart and blows it with himself near there and blows the dam.
So he pulls a Rick Grimes.
Yeah. Yes. Only he actually dies. Spoilers for a however old show. And he blows himself up in a moment of clarity. That was actually, but it was just a really neat scene because the way they described like the delusion and then it like failing as the Gore Warden died, that was actually pretty cool. I liked that. That was fun. Anyways, that's it. The city is alive. The city makes it. But Tom, darkness is coming. So let's deal with some fallout here, okay? Yes, that is exactly what another Cities character did in a previous book, Ghost Mutton. That is correct. The end of Cities characters is to basically do that, to blow themselves up with an explosive cart. You are exactly correct. Okay. I want to try to find this. I should have marked it. Hold on. I'm gonna look here. While I'm looking, I'll explain basically what sort of the output of this is. So, a couple of things that are going on. First off, there's a huge roiling fire in the distance. Okay.
Okay.
On the other side of this crossing, like, I'll show you the map. Okay. So here's Verdig. I know you're not really able to see this, but here's Verdigris. Here's Nathwaite's Crossing. Here's the neck. Up here, okay, there's this giant rolling fire. And nobody can penetrate it. Any of the hunters that get near it don't come back. Okay? It's just some horrible evil. Here we go. I would like to read to you this section because this needs to be read out loud. Because they're not going to deliver on this, but this sounds amazing. Are you ready? Here we go.
Okay.
It is clear that some dreadful power is on the march, overwhelming all in its path and drawing ever closer to the Verdian coast, which is where they are. Rumors spread of a demon-blooded empress from the depths of the infernal realm, intent upon slaughtering every living being in the swath. Some tales insist she is as tall as a megagargant. Others that she commands an army of flying ruin knights who will descend from the skies to raze and pillage at will. Okay. So either demon-blooded empress lady, megagargant-sized, all of these things have it being a female up there, right?
It's Volkia.
Like
the answer, this is Volkia.
I hope so, man. I hope so. I hope we're getting like new, fully demonified Volkia. Like, that's what they need to deliver on with this. Okay? Like,
Right.
this sounds amazing. And I want her to be big. Like, I don't know, Mega Garden to be big, but make her big. Make her like what's his name? The Primarch, the third Primarch who became half snake person. Again, is Fulgrim. Make her like Fulgrim sized. Right?
Yeah.
Or Marathi sized, I guess, if you want to do it that way. Yeah, man. That'd be awesome. Like, big giant demon Empress Volkia. With Ruin Knights, flying Ruin Knights. Now you got my now you have my attention. If that's what's coming in book 6, if that's what I get a preview of next week, woo! I'm excited. Okay? This whole pointless book just got interesting. All right. So, yeah, the demon-blooded Empress. There you go. Pretty awesome, right? Oh, that's pretty cool. That'd be sick. Other things that are going on, you get an aside where King Broad is losing all his Mega Gargants because Draika Hamadryath is there. And she's like just killing Mega Gargants. She's luring them alone into the woods and then killing them. And Broad is pissed about it, so he's trying to rustle up a big fight, a showdown with her. You get a cool aside at the Council of 13.
Okay.
Where the Skaven are executing the grand plan. And unlike their previous grand plans, like Lord Screech Vermin King is overseeing it, and he's not letting them turn on each other, or they have to work together. Like, he's making sure that they all actually work together and don't turn on each other. And like the Arch Plague Priest fails in what he wants, so he just kills the dude. He's like, we're not putting up with that. This is the plan. No failures. Okay, and so like he just kills a member of the Council of 13, which is like it's not an insignificant thing. So like obviously again just setting up that Skaven are the big bads. So there you go. That's the story where we left off. So both cities are basically being founded. Skaven are on the march. There's thunder and rumble everywhere. Oh, Toll sends a note that like, hey, I've noticed some more Skaven around in Hammerhall. Somebody should look into that. Seems like a problem. Like he sends a note at the end. That's his thing. Once again, just cluing into it here. This guy. So there you go. That's the story, John.
So clearly, what we can take away from that story is that this is not the final book of the of the Dawnbringers Crusade.
Yep. So
we know there's a book 6. Humans still idiots.
Yep.
Cthulhu Ex Machina.
Cthulhu Ex Machina. It's the funniest thing. Funniest thing. It's like reading a Brandon Sanderson story, but then suddenly, a person appears from nowhere and saves the day.
Clearly, she needs to be modeled carrying people as she's flying. Like somebody needs to do that conversion. I mean,
she needs to open up her wings and have Doomfire Warlocks just teleport out, because that's the only explanation for where they're, how, where, why, and cauldrons.
So here's
Thorian went with it for the attack. She was fine. She led the forces that were leading the actual battle. She was leading like the assault.
Who's our wheel lady?
Zenestra. Pontifex Zenestra.
I'm saying.
Oh, who is she really? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. She's made of some stuff or has gotten power from the Age of Myth, clearly.
I think she's a god character. An old world god character. I'm wondering if she is more.
I mean, I don't know. The wheel, it's possible. It'd be worth looking at maybe some of the old symbols from some of the old gods and seeing if any of them have like a wheel symbol, right? So, I don't know. But like, yeah, she's clearly possessed of some stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, she's somebody. Like, that's going to be something, right?
Because the way they treated her, right, is ultimately very reminiscent of how they did Grungy in the prior narrative.
Sure.
Her symbol is strikingly similar to Haish, which is interesting.
Sure.
Like Haish is the wheel.
That kind of circular wheel is a very common symbol in Warhammer. That's what's funny about it. It's the Chaos Star and all these stuff, right? So it shows up over and over again.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see the trajectory.
All right. Well, hey,
Um,
I am genuinely interested in book 6, and I am genuinely interested if we're going to get a little peek next week of whatever this like if we get new Volkia and flying Ruin Knights, and Volkia has become like a demonic form that is, huge and like 6-7 inches tall. Man,
yep.
I am in like Flynn for that.
Yeah, I know. That is your jam.
Sure. Like, yeah, Marco says it's the Lady of Ruin, the Varangard leader. Sure, like that'd be fine. Like, it's something cool. Like, let's go. Something cool. Okay. So, yeah. There's a theory that Zenestra is order aligned undead. Yeah, I mean, they talk about how she's like, well, right now she's like on the edge. At the end of the story, she's basically at the edge of death. She's like sort of comatose because of all the magic she used. So, but she's alive still.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just playing on that. So Shelia was one of the gods of the old world. And she was known as the White Dove of Mercy, or the Lady in White. She was a goddess of mercy, compassion, and healing in the old world pantheon. She was the daughter of Mor.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think like a reveal that she's some old world god is really uninteresting. I just really do.
Well, what I'm saying is they've done it before, particularly with Grungy, and it wouldn't surprise me if what they're doing is they're basically seeding this like it all happened before, it all happened again cycle. Like they had that cycle happening very clearly in
the end times.
Mm-hmm. Right? And it would not surprise me if they continue to like hit those narrative beats.
There we go. She's right? Cetra. Let's go.
No, because
hey, she likes chariots, but she's learned that wheels aren't. Hey, she never kneels. She gets carried around. Whatever. We'll see. All right, let's get into some actual rules, Tom, because I want to cover that. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Rule time. Boy, did we bury this deep in the show. If you're still with us, hey, thanks very much, everybody. I know it's late. Thanks for sticking out through story time. I hope everybody enjoyed. If you didn't hit like yet, hit like for story time. Okay, new rules. Cthulhu the Crone Seer. So this is her. She got a 14-inch move, 6 wounds, 5 up save. She can fly. She has attacks that are like, whatever. That's fine. Her real thing is Burnt Offerings. Here we go. Once per turn in the hero phase. If this unit is wholly within 6... You know what I wish they'd change this to, Tom? Once per turn in each hero phase.
Yeah, just so it's clear to everybody.
Yeah. It's the simplest wording change. They phrase things like that in the old world, by the by. They'll say in each strategy phase or something like that versus yours. At any rate, if this unit is wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Cauldron of Blood, you can say that it will commune with Morai Heg. If you do so, pick one friendly Daughters of Cain unit wholly within 9 inches of this unit that does not have the Scathborn, Medusai, Melusai, the Shadow Queen, or Morathi Cain keyword, and roll a die. So basically, no snake people, no Scathborn, right? That's okay, cool.
Yep.
So it's got to be like witch elves or sisters or, that kind of stuff. Doomfire warlocks. And roll a die. On a 2-up, you can pick one of the following prophecies to apply to that unit. A unit cannot be affected by the same prophecy more than once per turn. Now, boy, do you have to be tight for this, right? She herself is on like a decent-ish sized base, right? Like she's on a roundish base. She's got to be wholly within 6 of a cauldron. And then she's got to pick a unit wholly within 9 of her. That is not a lot of space. Well,
I mean, Docs have always been the army of like humping cauldrons in circles. Like historically, they were.
I understand. I'm just saying that's like you got to keep 3 units in pretty tight order to use this buff. Yeah. Right. Yep. Okay. So Prophecy of Silence until the end of the turn. Enemy units within 3 inches of this unit cannot receive commands. Okay. Pretty powerful.
Just solid. Yep.
Prophecy of Dark Wings. This unit can immediately make a normal move if it has not already made a normal move, retreated, or been set up on the battlefield in this phase. Okay, cool. So that you could double move, basically, right? Because your hero phase move. Now, that is very powerful because remember, this is once per turn in the hero phase. So it's enemy turn.
So it could be the enemy.
Yeah. Yep. Very potent. And then Prophecy of Reclamation until the end of the turn. While this unit is contesting an objective, enemy units can only contest that objective if they have the hero or monster keyword. Again, very powerful to use in the enemy's phase, right? Yeah. Again, you have to have a unit that's not going to just evaporate, and Witch Elves and Sisters do just evaporate when they get attacked. So, choose wisely, I guess. But powerful things to be doing if you have this little 3-unit combo, right? Set up in this tight little in these tight little bubbles. She herself has a ward of 4 up, so okay, cool. So 6 wounds, 5 up, 4 up. That's fine. And she has a prayer that has an answer value of 4 and a range of 18. You pick an enemy unit within range invisible to the Chanter. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Then roll a die. If the roll is equal to or higher than the wounds characteristic of that enemy unit, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit for the rest of the battle. Okay. Pretty decent prayer.
This force scroll will be gone in a couple months.
Sure. A pretty decent prayer, though. So she's cool. Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, and as a priest, it's also relevant that she'll pick up a prayer as well, right? Because they get their name characters pick up their prayers.
She's 170 points. So what do you think?
I mean, that's pretty steep for a 6-wound hero, but because of all the synergies, I think that it fits. She's going to be invisible because of Lookout Sir, because of her wounds, so that's nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate her. 6 wounds on a 4-up, or a 4-up. Not really targetable. I mean, I think that she's powerful for what she does, especially if she's buried in the pocket, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think she's interesting. I think we'll see some people experiment with her. I don't know if she's got the full juice or not, but 170 seems pretty reasonable for what she can do. So those are 3 pretty potent abilities.
She's doing burnt offerings in each of the hero phases. And every
theoretically 10 times per game, assuming all the units
10 times per game. So once for yours, once for theirs. And it says a unit cannot be affected more than the same prophecy more than once per turn. Isn't that funny? Because she can't do the prophecy more than once per turn.
Well, you'll get it in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, she's good. Again, her biggest fear is sort of anything that's doing AoE bombs, right? She does have a 4-up ward, but which is good. But she will get wiped out by that kind of stuff. But otherwise, I think she's good. The problem is she's relying on a lot of troops that aren't necessarily very good.
Yeah, well, so I'm going to jump back to this real quick because I do think this is curious wording. So she's doing this every hero phase.
Yes.
Once.
Yes.
And this specifically says a unit can't be affected more than the same prophecy per turn.
Correct.
So how is she getting more of those? Is it just the later ability?
Okay, so let's talk about the Crone Seer's Pariahs. All right?
Okay. Yep. Okay,
so this is her actual Army of Renown. And I will say I think this is an interesting Army of Renown. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Hades says she's insane at 170, and the Yigs said bargain at 170 for what I can see. We'll find out in the coming months. Yeah, I agree. I just wonder if the rest of the bones of this are because this army has had to rely on things like Marathi to really achieve much, and bow snakes, and you have none of that in this army. Now you can include her in a normal army and have the right stuff as a little contingent.
You're just throwing good money, or you're throwing good money after bad, right? Because once you have her, you're having to now buy a bunch of trash units.
Yeah, sure. Theoretically. Okay, so here's her rules. Guided by Morai Hag. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by a friendly Crone Seer Pariah unit is 6, that attack automatically wounds the target. Do not make a wound roll for it. And the rend characteristic for that attack is improved by 1. I really hate that second rule. I mean, it's very powerful. That's
it's
crazy
so hard
strong.
To track. Yeah, it's so hard to.
It just makes it really annoying to track, right? Because now, what happens there is, I mean, obviously that's super great. It turns your witch elves into blenders for sure, right? Yeah. If you have the gladiatrix and stuff there, and they're already rend 1, suddenly you've got a bunch of witch elves swinging in at rend 2 for all of their hits, right? Their 6th hits, right? And skipping the wound roll. So yeah, pretty good ability. I mean, it's certainly strong. Keep in mind, you're talking here about, again, like we've said, witches, sisters, Doomfire warlocks, the cauldrons themselves, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
But those are all pariahs. Laden with prophecy. A friendly, the Crone Seer's Pariah's Cauldron of Blood can be empty or full. At the start of the battle, it is empty. At the end of a phase in which an enemy model within 3 inches of a friendly empty Cauldron of Blood is slain by an attack made by that Cauldron of Blood becomes full. Okay, fine. Get your cauldrons into battle. Clearly, that's what they're wanting to have happen here, right?
Or shoot with your shooting. Shoot.
Well, you got to kill somebody within 3 inches of them when they die, so you got to be pretty close. But yes, which is in combat. A friendly full Cauldron of Blood has a ward of 4 up against wounds caused by shooting attacks. Like, okay, it's fine. And subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target a friendly the Crone Seer Pariah units while it is wholly within range of a friendly full Cauldron of Blood's Blood Shield ability. So the Blood Shield not only gives you +1 to save, it gives you -1 to hit.
-1 to be hit if the cauldron is in combat, basically.
Yep. So you definitely want to get these things rolling into battle, right? So okay, cool. Bloody Harus. At the start of any phase, you can pick 1 friendly full the Crone Seer Pariah's Cauldron of Blood within 6 inches of a friendly Cthulhu the Crone Seer. If you do so, that Cauldron of Blood becomes empty, and that Cthulhu the Crone Seer can immediately use the Burnt Offerings ability. If it is the hero phase, that Cthulhu the Crone Seer can use the Burnt Offerings ability twice in that phase instead of once. So, there you go, Tom. Hence the text in the previous page.
Yeah.
Okay. Skilled Skirmishers. Once per turn in the charge phase, after an enemy unit finishes a charge move within 3 inches of a friendly Doomfire Warlocks unit, you can roll a die. On a 3-up, they can retreat 2d6 inches. Only 1 unit of Doomfire Warlocks gets to do that. I do think that's actually a super powerful ability. Okay?
Yeah.
Because
they become hard to pin down.
Yeah, well, especially when combined with that previous prayer that says you can't take an objective from me unless you're a hero or a monster. Because if you put that on the they're coming in, it's their turn, you put it on your warlocks, right? They charge your warlocks to try to kill them because then they can still take it, and then your warlocks just retreat but stay on the objective.
Yep.
Right? Because you only need 1 warlock on the objective to literally shut off their entire unit. Right?
Yep.
So that's actually a pretty potent little combination there. And then your Doomfire Warlocks become battle line. Your all your units have a ward of 6 up, like your standard sort of dock.
Mm-hmm.
And then the blood reveals all. At the start of the hero phase, you can carry out this heroic action with a friendly the Crone Seer Pariah's hero instead of any other heroic action you can carry out. Pick 1 friendly the Crone Seer Pariah's hero within 9 inches of a friendly empty Cauldron of Blood. Then pick 1 other unit within 3 inches of that hero. That unit suffers d6 mortal wounds that cannot be negated. Then roll a die. On a 4-up, that Cauldron of Blood becomes full. When I first read this, I was actually pretty down on this. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, well, you have to ding your own unit for d6 mortal wounds, and then you only get the full Cauldron on a 4-up. But then I realized, no, if your heroes are close, you can just do it directly. Like, ideally, you're taking a Slaughter Queen or a Hag Queen, preferably like a Slaughter Queen, since it's actually a pretty, reasonable combatant. You're just swinging it forward, and if it's emptied its Cauldron already, right, for Cthulhu hanging out behind to do her burn offerings, then, because the Bloody Hospice is at the start of any phase, right? Yep. So let's imagine the Slaughter Queen on Cauldron fought last round, your round, right?
Yep.
Killed something, became full.
Yep.
Start of the hero phase, I'll dump at the Cauldron to let Cthulhu hanging out behind the Cauldron do her prayer on the Cauldron.
Yeah.
Okay, because she could pick the Cauldron itself as the target, right?
Sure.
It's empty. Then I'll have the Cauldron itself use the heroic action. D6 mortal wounds the thing that I'm in combat with, right? If I'm still in combat. And then potentially refill it before I ever went to combat, right? Because those are both start of the hero phase actions, so you can stack them however you want.
Yep.
So that's kind of the order of operations, right?
Yeah. So you just want him to be stuck into combat, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You want to get in amongst it, which I don't hate. It's a shame because I really love the Cauldrons, and I like using Cauldrons, that's always been one of my favorite units to use. I just really don't like Witch Elves or Sisters of Slaughter or Doomfighters.
Well, it's convenient because I have 90 Witch Elves and
Yeah, you're ready to go for this.
And two in a cauldron, and a slaughter queen, and a hag queen on.
No.
So.
But yes, that's how that all works.
Fun.
I mean, like, that's a lot of battle traits. That's a lot of army specific rules.
But they lose all of their.
There's no dock stuff. It's this. It's this and this alone.
Yeah, right. So they lose all of their spells, and they lose all their items, and they lose all of their prayers, right?
Yeah, correct. We're going to go to the next page, and that's going to be the replacement for all that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it depends on how good the other stuff is the short of that story.
Okay. Well, let's see.
Doc has really good prayers. Doc has really good spells.
Sure. I mean, I will say, I think this group of abilities here is pretty strong.
No, yeah. As for base abilities, I think it's fun. I like not having to stack up like the frenzy stuff. Like, I'm cool with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I agree. My biggest concern is just, are you building a castle on a foundation of sand? Because right now, witch elves and sisters, your sort of mainline units, are so sort of bad in the current meta of what the game is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it may not matter in 4 months.
Yeah, sure, of course. None of these things are going to matter in 4 months, I strongly suspect. So who cares?
Right.
Okay. Like, these books are all just going to be
dust.
Yeah. Okay. So prayers. You got 3 prayers here. I think they're pretty decent prayers. Augury of Battle is a 4-up, 14-inch range prayer that gives you a ward of 5-up. Like, that's it. It's friendly unit, ward of 5-up. That's what's happening here. Okay. Auspicious Strike is actually really interesting. So it's a prayer on a 4, again, range 14 inches. You pick one of your units, and then whenever another unit attacks that unit, every roll of a 1 makes them suffer a number of mortal wounds equal to the damage characteristic of their weapon. Which I actually really like. Because, the other version of this we used to have was, like, if they rolled a 1, they took 1 mortal wound, right?
Yeah.
But a number of mortal wounds equal to the damage characteristic of their weapon is actually really interesting, right?
Hi, ogres.
Sure, ogres or, like, Chaos Chosen plow into you and just explode themselves, right? I mean, given they have some mortal wound protection, but, like, things like that. 2 and 3 damage troops that people rely on, these big breakers, right?
Yeah.
Like, they make, like, tons of attacks. They just plow themselves into the dirt, right? Because they don't have the wounds to actually take that back. You roll 4, like, you got a 3 damage unit, makes a decent number of attacks, as many of them do, right? These elite units make a decent number of attacks. You roll 4 1s, completely statistically normative, and you take 12 mortal wounds back. Jesus. Wham! Yeah. Okay, so that's a pretty cool prayer. Yeah. And then Wings the Crone Goddess. Prayer that has an answer value of 3 and a range of 14. You pick a friendly Crone Seer's Pariah unit wholly within range, and they get to normal move with fly. So you have 2 hero phase moves in this force.
Yeah.
Carthusela's Prayer and this prayer. Or Carthusela's Offering, and this prayer.
Yep.
Pretty cool. 2, like, sort of off-turn moves are pretty, or hero phase moves. It's pretty good. And I do think it's one of the things this army needs to actually be competitive, because you need to be, like, really dancing your troops around really quickly. I will say it makes your Doomfire Warlocks insanely mobile to have access to this stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The fact that they can just cover 28 inches like nothing is pretty good. You've got a grand strategy and battle tactics. It's fine. They're whatever. I don't care. I'm just not even going to bother. You have a command trait, which does not have the unique only exception. Yet again, I hate this. If we're going to make these armies of renown based on unique characters who are clearly meant to be their leader, stop it. Stop. Get help. Okay.
Maybe they want the slaughter cauldron.
Sure, of course. That's what you're gonna do. You're just gonna make, like, the slaughter queen on cauldron the general, and then Carthusela is not the general in her own force. But she's not a war master. She doesn't, like, become a bonus Jenny. Narratively, it just bothers the living crap out of me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, your command trait. Roll a die each time an enemy unit within 12 inches of this general receives a command. On a 5-up, your opponent must spend an additional command point to receive that command. If they choose not to spend it, the command is not received. And blah, 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 blah. And it's lost, right? So they basically have a 5-up...
negate.
Well, I was going to call it Total Eclipse, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I find these to be like the least interesting command abilities. They're so just like, let me give you some random NP. Like, Spike doesn't like it. Nobody likes this. Stop writing these. Who are these for? It's an ability that works very rarely and just randomly screws people. The person who's in control of it doesn't like it because they can't bet on it. The person who gets affected by it doesn't like it because 1 in 3 times it just like screws them over.
Yeah.
Super fun. How about like Blessings of the Crone? Your general gets the advantages of Cthulhu, the blah blah blah, and can like see into the future. So like once per turn, you can choose a single hit roll or save roll or cast or prayer roll and re-roll it or something like that, right?
Yeah.
There you go. There, I wrote a better command trait. See how much more fun that would be? Neat. Okay. Artifact of Power. Rune of the Weave. Once per battle before carrying out the blood reveals all heroic action, the bearer can say that they will consult the Rune of the Weave. If they do so when they carry out that heroic action, add 1 to the roll that determines whether the Cauldron of Blood becomes
trash.
Trash. Wow, that is trash.
It should be, if it's a once per game, it
just automatically refills.
Refills. That's exactly it.
This is one of the worst magic items I have ever seen them print. Even amongst the world of once per battle magic items, this one is legendarily terrible. Who wrote this? Stop it.
Yeah.
Get help.
You need to go take some time and think about what.
Yeah. 3 good prayers. 3 really solid prayers I like. A command trait and an artifact that are just like, please see the core rules for the command trait and artifacts you will be selecting in this army.
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, that's it. There you go. That's the army. So, what's your read on this army of renown? Fun, interesting, competitive?
It's not competitive, but it's fun and interesting. Mm-hmm. Like at the right point values, it could be competitive. Like if you could flood the board with enough bodies.
Yeah, it might be interesting. Like Doomfires as battle line, maybe they're the right choice for a lot of those things. I don't know. They might be.
Maybe. Like I'm thinking about just way bodies, right? Mm-hmm. Where even if you kill off a unit of witch elves, right, there's like just a shit ton more, right? And then a unit of witch elves taking a charge, right? I'm thinking about the like rolling one to hit, like a unit of witch elves taking a charge on the chin. It's already a sacrificial unit at that point, but kicking back a bunch of mortals on onto the
sure.
You know, like
the old witch elf missile trick. Yeah. This is a thing.
Yeah, I can imagine a number of those like build possibilities.
Yep.
But is it competitive? I don't know, maybe. Like the battle tactics don't seem too terrible. And the reality is like you have to go to the battle tactic in the grand strat. What I'll say is this. The grand strat is not difficult.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like it's like one of the easiest grand strats in the game.
Sure.
Have a unit on near their and like battle.
Well, especially if you just mentioned because you have the unit, like you have the ability to just race units like 28 inches around the board, and that's without running or anything like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, with a bunch of Doomfires and like a super. Yes, you would just shoot them across. And you just run them along an edge, and their job is to not die and to stay near the battlefield outside of your territory. Congratulations. And then again, their battle tactics are terrible. And again, like Purge the Flock, you complete this tactic if you control the objective. That objective, so you pick an enemy objective. If you control that objective,
and control the objective, like,
and there's nobody on it. That's a give me, right? Like like even looking at this, they have 2 like very, very like the first 2 tactics are quite easy to do. Your Cauldron of Blood's in combat, cool. kill that unit, destroy that unit by the end of the end of the turn. If you do, you
Sure.
get your battle tactics.
Yeah. They're
Like,
all
those are
relative.
super
They're
easy.
continuing the classic Doc tradition of easy battle tactics. Yes, I agree.
So maybe is the answer, because that's ultimately what, like, that is what dictates whether something's competitive now. Is
Sure.
can you get 5 battle tactics?
Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, let's talk about our last things here, and then we'll close this up. The Regiment of Renown. The Saviors of Cinderfall. Falling War Scrolls are part of the Cities of Sigmar faction. But if your army has an Order General and is not Cities of Sigmar, you can put this in your army as well. It counts as an ally. It's a Regiment of Renown, blah, blah, blah. There are the Unified Battalion Core Rules 26.2.1, so on and so forth. Okay, so this little pack of dudes we're going to talk about here in a minute is 350 points, so keep that in mind, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So you have Duty Bound. Duty. While friendly Saviors of Cinderfall unit is wholly within 6 inches of an objective, they get +1 to save and +1 to ward rolls.
Okay. Yeah.
So pretty good. And Sentenced to Death. At the start of the battle, pick 1 enemy unit on the battlefield to be sentenced to death. Attacks made with melee weapons by a friendly Saviors of Cinderfall unit that target that enemy unit score a hit on a 2+, regardless of any modifiers, positive or negative. Click, click, boom. Okay.
Oof.
So let's look at our D&D party. Yes, because
that decking rope and grapnel.
Yeah.
Oof.
Got a lot better. All right, so let's take a look at our folks here. So Callis and Toll, 4 up save base, 5 wounds, 5 inch move, 8 bravery, right?
Yep.
Yep. So that's fine. They have a ward of 5 up. After they fought for the first time, you can say that Hanover Toll will attempt to plunge a firewood stake into the heart of a foe. If you do so, pick 1 enemy model within 1 inch of Hanover and roll 2d6. If the roll is greater than the wounds characteristic of that enemy model's unit, that model is slain. So, I actually don't hate that. It's pretty cool.
Like, that's a really good, like, woe be to you, foot heroes.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're not up in the monstrous hero level, like, that's actually pretty decent. It does mean that, like, in general, they're going to ice, like, sort of 5, 6, 7 wound heroes. Pretty likely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then right tool for the job, double the damage characteristic of an attack if it's against a wizard or a demon. So they are how do the companions interact with orders given the hero keyword? I would assume that both Callis and Toll and Toll's companions can both issue orders because they both have the hero keyword and they are separate units. But so they should both be able to issue orders. Not Callis and Toll and companions. It's Callis and Toll are 1 unit. Toll's companions are 1 unit. Okay.
And both units are heroes.
Yeah. That's my understanding of it. I could be wrong. I don't know. These units are weird. But that was my read on it. But they certainly at least get 2 orders, 1 for each group, because they both have the hero
if I'm reading this correctly, the unit doesn't have 4 attacks of Azerite blades. Each model has 4 attacks.
Yeah, that's how I'm reading
Callis
it too, yeah.
and Toll are running 8 attacks.
Yep.
Do on 3s and 3s, make 1.
Yeah, they make 6
double.
pistol shots. They make 8 melee attacks. Yeah. They're both armed in the same way.
Yep.
And then you got Toll's companions, which consists of Valis, the Keeper Akshian, Mistress Verenitia, and Lisa Ravinia. As well, they have a dog. They got a dog.
Yep.
So
they have a cat, right?
No, she has a cat. They have a dog. It's a pet party. It's your standard D&D party. Multiple people have pets. Okay.
Yep.
So there's like 4 models in this unit or whatever, right? Yeah. Okay. With the dog, they're elite. They can issue orders to themselves. They're also a hero. Like they have the hero keyword. Yep. The Griffhound is the one with the vicious beaks and claws, of course, and Valis, the Keeper Akshian. He's actually like a lord. He's actually like a Lord Castellant. I think he's some kind of like Stormcast Lord. Like he's a Lord level Stormcast. Yep. So he has a wounds characteristic of 5. Okay. So okay.
What is the wounds characteristic of the Griffhound? Or it's
3.
a companion. But no.
It has the same wounds characteristic as everything else because it's not exempted.
but it is not listed in the models for this unit.
Yeah, but it's a model in the unit, so I would assume that it still has that. I think it just got cut out.
Like, so companions, hold on. Companions do not have, like, they're like mounts, right?
Yep, they're like mounts.
Like they're but they don't have their own wounds value.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have his own wounds. Maybe he's just a placeholder for a set of attacks. Yeah, that could be. You're probably right.
I'm guessing he's a placeholder, like.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, because he's under companion. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So this companions unit has a wounds characteristic of 11, 2 models with a 3, and a model with a 5.
Correct. There you go. Yes, that's right.
Okay. But it has basically 4 weapon profiles, because one of those weapon profiles is the companion.
Yeah, there we go. That's right. Yeah. You've got it. They will break upon my shield if they include Valus, the Stormcast guy.
Yep.
They ignore negative modifiers to save rolls for attacks to target this unit.
Nice.
Very strong. Very strong.
Because especially if in that battalion they're going to be on a 3-up near objectives.
Yep, absolutely.
So unrendable 3-up, still good.
Yep, 100%. When it includes Mistress Varentia, each time an enemy unit within 12 inches of this unit receives a command, roll a die. On a 5-up, you receive 1 command point. See, that is a version of that rule I like better. Because then it's just like 1 in 3 times you did something, I get to do something. Right? Yeah. I get a bonus point. Cool. And then Silent as Death, you can put them in reserve along with Callis and Toll, and they can pop out of terrain features. Yeah.
Including faction terrain features.
Including faction terrain, yeah. Yeah, it's fun.
Surprise, bitch! I was in the corner altar the whole time.
We were in your ogre pot the whole time. They come up out of the water. Yeah. And their attacks are like decent enough. I mean, obviously the rogue is your main. Points? 350 for the whole thing. So for 21 wounds, you're 350 points. 2 orders.
It's not terrible.
Good number of attacks. Not a huge amount of rend. Obviously, the decking rope and grapnel is really powerful, but it only has 1 attack. It has to be on a 2-up to be of any value. Like, it has to be going against your sentence to death unit, basically. But, it's 1 attack on, if that's the case, then 2 and 2, -2, 3 damage. So it's certainly a good clock, right?
Yeah, I don't hate this as a solution to foot heroes. Let's view this through the lens, because so this thing is taking the points cost of that middle tier of hero. Let's look at this through the lens, right? Is this earning 350 point? And it is ostensibly a foot hero unit. That's what this is, right? And because of the alternative deployment, I'm inclined to say yes.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Brian said
this earns.
Do they get Lookout Sir? Yes, everybody here gets Lookout Sir because they're all heroes. So they're
all invisible. If there's a unit nearby, they're all invisible because everybody's under 9 wounds, and they're all -1 to be hit because of Lookout Sir as well. I think this they may have to crack the code in this unit thing, because of the alternative deployment, because of what this is doing. This is a wonderful tech piece at 350.
Sure.
It's only going 1 spot on the battlefield. This is not going to jump around, right?
Sure.
So you need to know where this unit needs to be in order for them to be the saviors. Right, you have to deploy them correctly. But if you do, it's going to put a hurting out, and it's going to do some work. Again, this is an order of... This is like a regiment around cities of Sigmar. Can you take this regiment in cities?
Yes, because it's not a regiment in cities. It's just units you take in cities. If you take it in cities, it's just your units. You're just taking.
So you don't get the Saviors of Center of All ability.
No, I think you still do, because it says the following war scrolls are part of the Cities of Sigmar faction. If your army has an order general but is not a Cities of Sigmar armor, you can include these war scrolls in your armies. Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you would just be taking them as troops. Yeah, correct, in cities.
So you would, if you took them as a cities unit, you would lose the bonus save and ward, right? But you're gonna gain the human synergies because they're both units are human, and both issues would be able to issue commands or issue orders.
Yep. It is weird they
so,
don't get their bonuses in the actual city's army they're a part
so
of. That's
how
sort of weird
many
thing about the regiments of renown that I don't like.
How many orders would they issue? 2? Because technically there's 5 heroes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I really don't know. If each one of them is carrying around the hero keyword other than the companion, which if that's the case, then they're getting 5 orders. That's crazy. I don't know. I don't know.
Because again, they're humans, so they're going to get all the synergies as well of humans, which is pretty hot.
Like 1 per unit makes sense to me. I don't know that 5 makes sense to me. I don't have the city's rules right in front of me. Toasty said rules is intended 2, rules is written 5. Yeah. I don't have the city's book in front of me to see the exact language on how they put in the verbiage for order issuing. I mean, if they can issue 5 orders, then they're 1,000% worth it. That's just instant madness, right?
Can you imagine?
Yeah, sure. I can imagine it. I can imagine it very well. Move aside, Wildercorpse hunters or whatever. You got nothing.
Well, no, that's why they got their boys. That's why they got their boys. Is those guys are giving them lookout.
So, interesting unit. It certainly is one of the cooler looking units they've made in a long time. Like, it is a D&D party. That's what it is.
I'm not going to lie. Like, I have a city's army in a box. And the things that most interested me have always been the witch hunters.
Sure. Well, these guys are all Order of Aesir.
Yeah, they're all Order of Aesir. And so, like, this, like, it makes me want to grab this setup and paint up the wilderness hunters. And I actually have, like, all the different witch hunter models that have ever been released into the past. And so, like, I'd be tempted to, like, paint up my own alternate Toll's companions of other witch hunters rather than doing these 3 companions. I mean, they're not terrible, but
yeah, they're fine. It's a shame they're coming out so late. I'd love to see. I'd love to see somebody put together like a diorama with this team in for a Golden Demon
investigating sewers or something.
Yeah. Doing a cool Golden Demon entry out of it, but it's obviously this thing is just coming out way too close to the event in the U.S., so that's not going to happen.
What, you can't get it done for next week? Yeah. Or wait, no, when's Golden Demon? Is that next week?
No. Yeah. So, interesting stuff there. Yeah. All in all, probably worthwhile at 350. I mean, I'm sure we'll see them around. People experiment with them. So, see how it goes. Well, there you go, folks. That's it. That's Dawnbringers Book 5. We now await the big finale. Next week's going to be a big week. We'll see what happens. I'll be doing the show live from Adepticon. Of course, post the reveal show. Do I beat them to the air? I guess we'll find out. So obviously I can't say anything when I'm in the room, but once I leave the room, all bets are off, baby. I'm a free citizen. So, there you go.
I want to just point this out. Brand new mate just pointed this out, and I want to highlight it. Is that Callis and Toll pick up lookouts from the other unit of heroes near them because it's 3 or more models. Yeah. So they're invisible because the other heroes nearby them.
Sure. Wow.
That checks out.
All right. Well, for all of you out there, hey, if you haven't hit like yet, go ahead and do that. Subscribe. Do all those fun things. Does that mean 4th Ed won't be announced? No, we're absolutely going to have 4th Ed announced at the show, like 100%. Yep.
Hopefully we'll get to see Valkia.
Yeah, like we'll get Dawnbringers Book 6 in between now and the launch of 4th Ed in summertime. Like that's the 4th Ed won't come until like June or July or whatever, right?
Yeah. I'm guessing like it'll be mid-July.
Historically, that's when it's done. Like
we'll get this book 6 probably mid-April is where I'm guessing. Like,
Probably.
because there's always historically been a fairly large release in GW's release calendar, like late April.
Yep.
A late April, early May is like whenever they do armies, like fully new armies. Most of the time they're in this April, May. Like Caradron, Ideneth, a bunch of the like new concept armies have dropped in this little window.
Sure. Well,
So don't be surprised if we have a big announcement.
we'll see what happens. Hey, as I said, everybody, hit like, hit subscribe, hit things that make dings. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching all of this nonsense. It's great to have you along on the journey. If you want to support the channel, lots of ways you can do so. You can do all those aforementioned things. You can share this. You can share the show with people. Down there, there's all sorts of links. Don't forget to check out the picks of the week we mentioned. Check out Tom's Son's channel. It's down there. Throw him a sub. And there's links down there for Amazon affiliate links and Monument Hobbies. Monument's going to be releasing 2 new signature sets at Adepticon, plus a special Adepticon set of paints. So we got 18 new awesome paints coming from Pro Acryl. I'm very excited. Can't wait to see how those do. All the signature sets so far have been bangers. I'm not just saying that because one of them is mine. I'm saying that because I generally use them all the time. So you can find links for all that stuff down below. You can also find all the things I mentioned that the games Adam and I make, and of course our Patreon, focused on review and feedback and taking your next step on your hobby journey. But as always, folks, we appreciate it very much. We thank you for watching. As always, we'll see you next Wednesday.